Hey everyone, it's good old buddy Tony Schiavone. You know, we've had so much fun bringing you What Happened When each and every week, and this could not be done without your love, your support, your love of wrestling, and your constant feedback. It means the world to me, to my buddy Conrad Thompson, to Lois, and the entire staff at WHW. Heck, it means everything to the family. And I want to let you know that we are here for you in so many ways that you don't even realize. And that's why we've come up with SaveCade.com. The very best way for you to save on your mortgage, reduce your monthly payments, get out of debt faster, and even put money back in your pocket. It's simple and easy. Just go to our website at SaveCade.com, fill out the form. There's no obligation, and you may not even need an appraisal. Start saving immediately with SaveCade.com and the great people at First Family Mortgage. Lower your monthly payments, possibly skip your next two house payments. Thanks again from all of us at WHW. Today, right today, log on to SaveCade.com and put your butt in a seat that will help save you money. MNLS number 65084, Equal Housing Lender.
Stampede, Flair and Horseman, Garvin, Bogey, Magnum, Dusty, Express Tag Team, Turner, Bodden, Mid-South Joy World Championship Wrestling.
Talking about the great years of World Championship Wrestling, the NWA, and Jim Crockett Promotions.
Tony and Friends North, they win. Look, Schiavone's back again. World title split off center stage. Bischoff, Disney, Hogan, and Nitro. New World Order and the Crow. Thunder, Russo, Arquette Champ, Vinnie Mac, simulcast. Tony's back with Conrad, not your classy podcast. Watch along, try not to laugh. Lowest rules can't pass. This wasn't the initial plan. Tom Zigg's a good-looking man. Klondike Bill, make a chant. Tommy, you come over here.
What happened when?
WHW Monday. And now, let's go to the ring. And here's your co-host. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With Tony Schiavone. What's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, buddy, what's going on? I need to say a few words about this show before we start. I thought we had done this before, and apparently we've not done it before. And we've had a lot of people request it, and I remember a couple of weeks ago someone requested this Halloween Havoc 91 with the Chamber of Horrors match, and I thought, well, that's back in the archives. So I went back in the archives. Look, I couldn't find it, but I remember it vividly. And then when you posted on Patreon that we were going to do this, and you did a little preview of it, fans were really excited about it on Patreon. So here we are doing this show that I thought we had done before, but I guess it's just my age, Conrad.
Well,
I guess it's me.
Let me tell you what happened. You went back and watched this show by mistake. It was the time when you watched the wrong show to get ready for the show we were covering.
That is exactly right.
So you watched it, but we didn't talk about it. And so we're going to talk about it today. And this is going to be quite the show. Chattanooga, Tennessee. You want to talk about fucking killing a town? Well, here we go, boys and girls. This is going to be a fun show. If you're familiar with the archives, and certainly you should be, you can find them online or check us out on YouTube. But dude, we've covered all the Halloween Havocs, or so it feels, but not this one. Made you wait for this one. The Chamber of Horrors. And believe it or not, we just passed the 27-year anniversary of this a couple of days ago. October 27th, 1991 is when it went down. And we're going to have you watch along with us. So fire up your WWE network to Halloween Havoc 1991. This is something you got to see. I know a lot of times people try to enjoy our show without actually watching. They're going to electrocute Abdullah the Butcher. I didn't make that up. That's a real sentence. You got to fucking watch this with us. So Tony, give us the countdown. Let's get going, man.
Actually, I'm going to bring in Lois because she always liked Halloween Havoc. So we thought we'd bring her in for a countdown. Lois, the floor is yours.
Is this the one where you dress up like an idiot?
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not. It's not.
I can tell by the way you're smiling. You got that. I'm trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Look.
No, that was another Halloween Havoc. Go right ahead.
3, 2, 1, play.
How about these graphics here?
How about this? We start out in the graveyard. Just damn. Barry Windham and Ron Simmons for the World Heavyweight Championship. And there's Abdullah. And was he Kevin Nash back then?
No,
or Vinny Vegas?
That's Oz.
Elegante with a roll of baloney. And there is that's not the UTC Arena, but it is time for Halloween Havoc 1991, where Lex Luger and Sting present Halloween Havoc. Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross.
When you saw all those cobwebs, did it remind you of Lois at all?
I'm not going to say that because it'll get back to her. One of her kids will listen to this and say, Mom, what's Dad talking about your cobwebs for? And I don't want anyway. Take a look at this, Conrad. Take a look at this monstrosity from the UTC Arena in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah, we got a big lighting ring. We've got pyro going off. We've got an electric chair suspended from the ceiling, and one of the more interesting cages. I think you guys called it the Thunderdome or some shit like that.
Well, we had called it the Thunderdome in the past, but I think we just called this the Chamber of Horrors. And so many things went wrong in the Chamber of Horrors. And, this was a Klondike Bill contraption. And I can just imagine that Klondike Bill put all of these girls in here and chased them around. And just a thought about Klondike. But check out my hair. My hair was kind of blonde back then.
Yeah, you're doing a little sun in. And by the way, two of the greatest announcers of all time here are going to be calling this one, JR and Schiavone, a rare opportunity where we get both of you guys. Of course, behind the scenes, you're both jockeying for position. Oh, and look who it is. It's Eric Bischoff, the stick man in the back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to suck off Hulk Hogan. Oh, not quite yet. It's not quite WCW with Hulk Hogan yet. We're still trying to figure it out. Oh, here comes a car. Wait a minute. Is Cactus Jack in a goddamn Lincoln Town car?
Yeah, boy,
seriously, does that not kill some illusions when Abdullah the Butcher and Cactus Jack are in a fucking Lincoln Town car and Abdullah's wearing a tie? Like, to me, these are the madman from Sudan and these monsters. They should be driving something that looks like the Shaggin' Wagon from Dumb and Dumber, but instead they've got a goddamn town car. Like, my mom drove that. That's like a luxury. What the fuck is this?
Well, we blur the lines between reality and fantasy here, Conrad, is what we did. And now who is this?
Oh, you're going to love this.
Oh,
check them out.
Oh, my God.
The Diamond Stud and Diamond Dallas Page. And that's probably Kimberly Bacon's Nissan hatchback.
Yeah.
Look, notice how Bischoff is eyeing Kimberly's hatchback.
What are you trying to say?
No, it was a nice car. I mean, you don't think she had a nice car? And check this out. In the Dusty Rhodes special, the drop top red Mercedes, Barry Windham gets out and oh no. Oh, Arn Anderson, that bastard, breaking the arm of Barry Windham and a young Dustin Rhodes coming to make the save. Tell me that doesn't look like the Mercedes that Dusty drove forever.
Yeah, I think it was the Mercedes that Dusty drove forever. As a matter of fact, I'm sure it was. Because we would always drive to Chattanooga, and there they go. They're not going to be in the event. Holy shit.
He's going to the hospital, ladies and gentlemen. While you're there, see if you can pull my head out of Hulk Hogan's ass. Back to you.
Take a look at this arena, Conrad. We did good business in Chattanooga. It was a good town for us.
Well, not after this night. Now, let's remind everybody, this Chamber of Horrors. Now, first of all, this is before the Halloween Havoc sets were awesome. This is a giant piece of shit here. It looks like the fireworks are just intermittent. They're working when they want to, almost like they've got that Buff Bagwell contract. And the fun little tombstones here, usually there's one that says Crockett or something fun. The only thing fun here is the one that says Minnesota Twins, 1991.
And that and that is because we were right in the middle of the World Series here
with Atlanta, right? Atlanta and the Twins.
As a matter of fact, little inside story here about me. I was driving home, and there's the throw switch that we got to talk about. I was driving back to Atlanta after this when the 7th game of the World Series was going on. So this was the same night that the Twins ended up beating the Atlanta Braves in the 7th game of the World Series on this.
And let's run through that. Chattanooga is less than 2 hours from Atlanta, where the Braves play. So you're 2 hours away from where the home team, and there is no baseball team in Tennessee, is in the World Series, but yet we've got a pay-per-view. Now, notice the star power here, guys. Elegante out first. Here comes Vader. Fucking Mike Graham just right on TV closing the door. And he's got the Vader helmet like he likes, and you don't see the control, but somebody nearby has it because boom, there goes the smoke. Such a fucking cool presentation and cool helmet. And when he gets down a little further, they're going to fire it off again while he's just got it on his arm. What a cool spectacle that was, especially for 1991. It would be cool now, but it was certainly cool 27 years ago. And look at all the talent, man. So Elegante, okay, we'll give him a pass, but they were giving him a push because he's 7 foot tall. Now Vader, now the Diamond Stud, who will go on to be Scott Hall. You've got so much talent in the opening match, but it's the opening match because you've got all these gimmicks in here, and it would take up valuable pay-per-view time to try to set it up right in the middle of the show. Right, Tony?
Exactly. That's exactly why we did it at the beginning. And I'm amazed. I was just looking how great Scott Hall looked back then.
Oh, and how about this though? Let's run through this. What a great look this is for Cactus Jack. And he's coming out with a goddamn chainsaw, but I don't buy you as a badass. You rent a Lincoln. You drive a town car. If you drive a town car and then you chase me with a fucking chainsaw, I'm going to know it's brand new from Home Depot and you don't know what you're doing with it. Like no badass ever fucking drove a Lincoln town car and then had leopard print and no teeth and a chainsaw. It's inconsistent. These guys are never inconsistent though. The Steiner brothers get a huge pop here. Of course, you're probably not listening to the sound, but man, they are over like Rover in Chattanooga, Tennessee here. This is probably the height of the Steiner era. Wouldn't you agree? This late 91, 92 era, that's as good as it gets for them.
That was the best. That was the best Steiner brothers. We talked about this in one of our earlier podcasts. We love the Steiner brothers in this era better than any.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that 89, but to me, 90, 91, 92 are the best. Now, again, here's this guy who looks like he's going to put a spell on you and then fucking eat you. Like he knows voodoo and he's going to murder you and your whole family. But I just saw him get out of a goddamn Lincoln town car wearing a tie. No, I don't buy it.
And if you're from that area, you probably have heard of, no longer around, Abdullah the Butcher's Chinese and Ribs.
Now, the first time you got there, or I assume you ate there before.
Yeah.
Oh, how about Sting here looking like $1 million and look at this fucker. He's fixing to drop my belt. Oh, there goes my belt. The Reggie Parks United States title, one of the more iconic designs. And he's just throwing it around because he doesn't give a shit. Oh, he dropped it again, bastard.
What the fuck is going on here?
Just throw it in the damn cage. He dropped it again. 3 times He dropped my belt.
Oh,
and now we're off to the races. Now, here's the deal. As a fan, as a kid, I would think this is awesome that you've got all these guys in here. Now that I'm a little older, and I'm not saying I know shit about wrestling, but just now that I'm a little older, and maybe I pretend that I know a little more about wrestling, I realize with this many guys, it's just going to be a clusterfuck, is it not?
Well, it is a massive clusterfuck. We knew it from the beginning that it would be.
He threw my belt again, that fucker.
But here's the fact of this. The object of this is to get someone in the smaller cage, in the chair in the smaller cage,
which is still in the ceiling. It has not yet lowered.
Right. And then the throw switch to put him in the chair to electrocute him. Now, to me, the memorable part of all this, the throw switch.
No, this is the memorable part to me. They've got Nick Patrick wearing a helmet like he used to put on John Michael before he went out in public. And he's got a helmet on, but his has a camera on it. So it's like the original GoPro. And they're going to call it the Refer Cam. But I feel like Dusty was high when he came up with this. We're going to call it the Reefer Cam.
I think it was the Referee.
Yeah, there you go. It's the Reefer Eye.
Yeah. Okay. The Referee. It was one of those Jim Hurt things that I want a goddamn Candyman How about a goddamn referee?
No, here's the thing though. In reality, and I know that sometimes that camera shot can't work for you because the very nature is that the ref is supposed to have his back turned and not see certain things. And if he does really see it and ignore it and you catch it on TV, you look like an asshole. But if you could work around that, it's an interesting enough concept. But in the meantime, he looks like a fucking dumbass.
Yes, he does. And I'm surprised that in this era of GoPro that we haven't seen Vince strap a GoPro on one of his referees right now. I'm surprised that didn't happen. This is kind of a prior to GoPro.
Well, but again, I think the thinking is like Charles Robinson. Let's say they throw one on him this week and the guy behind him is cheating. He's not supposed to see it. But if we switch to his camera and he's just looking over his shoulder real fast to say, hey, are they ready for me to turn around? And he sees them cheating and he doesn't call a DQ, then it exposes that wrestling is bullshit. Now we all know it's bullshit, but we're supposed to suspend disbelief and believe in our referees.
To me, the greatest thing about all this, I know you think it's a reefer eye cam. The greatest thing about all this is the fucking throw switch kept falling down on its own.
No, that's not the greatest thing. The greatest thing is when Cactus Jack is up there way too early and has to just stand there like a fucking jack off and wait for them to settle. We're giving a spoiler, but when I watched it earlier, I was just like, what the fuck this is what's wrong with gimmick matches. And you know, on 83 weeks, oh, here we go. Scott Steiner going up top.
Oh,
and
there
the
you go.
cage is coming down at the same time. Somebody's going to die. DDT off the top. And a lifeless Cactus Jack is underneath selling. And Rick Steiner realizes, hey man, you're going to die. You should roll. And gives Cactus a heads up. And they lower the miniature cage down from the top with the electric chair in the middle. I'm not making this up. If you're not watching right now, the top of this cage is curved inward. And I think WCW sold a toy set where the cage was like this, because I remember having one. I think it was red.
Yes,
and they've got two wooden coffins in the corners, not like the Undertaker's casket, but like a coffin like Dusty Rhodes wrestled in Madison Square Garden with in the 70s, like an old school, well, like the type Lois would put you in. Like, you know, hey, he gave up on us, so let's just Shivani his casket type of casket, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for bringing that up. Here's another thing about this, and this is something that was concerned everybody.
The switch is down, by the way, and Rick was just in there. Now he's playing with it, and the switch is down. No one has noticed or acknowledged, but it is funny.
We're going to have a referee. I believe one of the referees walked up the side of the cage or climbed up the side of the cage and tried to tape that throw switch back up, which I thought was hilarious. Oh my God. We're getting ready we painted these guys with white face paint to come out, get down on one knee and get ready to electrocute someone. But
so there's a series of orderlies or they're dressed like hospital orderlies and they're bringing out the old stretcher and it's almost a military style stretcher like Ox Baker had, but they've painted their face white, like kabuki paint or whatever.
Right.
And by the way, a minute ago, Sting, rather than hitting Cactus Jack with the top of the lid of this casket, he just throws it up in the air and lets it fall on him. Cactus immediately falls face down and starts blading. And the camera, the guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's trying to shoot tight shots of him cutting his fucking forehead. And they have to immediately cut away. Like, wait a minute, what are you doing?
Again, that's just lack of people knowing what they were fucking doing with us. Here's what one of the big things that was a concern with everybody earlier in the day. You see that big door, if you're watching it with us now, the big door that's going to close shut the electric chair.
Mm-hmm.
When they pulled that chain, that thing would snap shut and it was a heavy door. You could literally chop someone's head off or break someone's arm or crush somebody's ribs if they got caught with that door. That door would go bam, and it was heavy. And that's what concerned everybody, that they would be going near that cage and maybe someone would accidentally pull the chain or it would go down on itself. That was very, very dangerous. And everybody to a man wrestled in this match or tried to wrestle in this match was concerned about this. When they finally get him in the cage, who's the guy? Do we have masked guys in these coffins? Is that what we had?
I mean, there's one right there. How about that shit?
Yes, I guess so. And look at Cactus Jack, man, the bleeder himself. Whoa.
So there's a collection of jobbers in face paint. One of those, by the way, is Brian Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I had a feeling in all those jobbers that were in face paint that we would have somebody who went on to have a pretty good career. As we take a look at the referee again. Again, that door is...
No, that's not the referee. It's the referee.
I'm sorry, the referee.
See, there's another enhancement guy in a hood inside for no reason, apparently.
I think these enhancement guys in the hoods were in these caskets. It was all Halloween themed, Conrad. I mean, by the way, happy Halloween to you and to all of our fans. I want to give you a little Halloween story. Now, see, again, this is what was so dangerous. If that door would have shut, it would have crushed somebody.
Why don't you tell us the Halloween story during a Ricky Morton match?
Okay. I will.
Well, because here's what it'll be like. Ricky Morton selling 12 minutes later. Ricky's still selling 10 minutes later. Hey guys, Ricky's still, by the way, the switch is flipped and we're shooting it tight. It's on, it's electric, but we have to ignore it. Why it's on camera, nobody knows.
And I do believe, if I remember correctly, another referee went up and tried to tape it. It may have been Randy Anderson on the outside trying to tape it up. Someone said, is that switch down? Will somebody tape it up? My God. And already, would you agree that this match has gone long enough?
No, I'll tell you why I don't. I mean, this is the opening match, and I think a lot of people would want the opening match to go longer than it. I mean, to go short and just be like a real, hey, let's get everybody excited, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is really the main event. I mean, to me, it's only 12 minutes.
12 minutes?
12 minutes, 36 seconds, bell to bell.
Oh, it seems like 30 minutes already. I don't know if you noticed on the outside, but we did get a shot of Klondike Bill. And of course, this is one of his inventions here. And,
by the way, we're on, the switch is on. Anyone who sits in that chair is going to die right now, cause it's fired up. It's electric.
Yeah. And we, after this, and of course, Abdullah the Butcher, I guess, giving everybody hepatitis, bleeding profusely from his forehead.
Is he giving hepatitis on his chicken wings? Oh, no, you meant in the match, not in his Chinese and chicken wing.
He's bleeding on top of Sting's head. I never will forget when we had finished and the night was over. And I think we all knew to a man that that sucked. Dusty did say, though, and I think he was right. He did say, though, he said, but that visual of Abdullah the Butcher being electrocuted was a hell of a visual.
You can see Brian Clark right there in the front row.
Yeah.
Now that you know what you're looking for.
Right. Oh, so wow, man, just nothing but carnage and blood. And there's Bill Apter running around on the outside and kendo sticks. And
here's the deal. Like, to me, this should be the last match. And if you have to do it first, it tells me that you've got a convoluted fucking card. In my opinion, you should finish with this. But if this were a house show, like, I could totally see you guys building this up. Let's go back to the Crockett era. Yes, it's convoluted. Yes, there's a lot of silly steps, blah, blah, blah. But I could totally see you guys trying to make this work with Crockett. Not necessarily the electric chair, but this Thunderdome cage, all the guys, all the violence. And Cactus Jack just climbed up to flip the switch to off. He's the loyal soldier. And now they are going to try to shoot it and get a tight shot, but Craig Leathers doesn't call for it. So they shoot it for nothing. By the way, this is worth mentioning. You know, Elegante didn't work a ton of main events on pay-per-view, and I don't care what anybody says. This is the main event. And this is certainly Scott Hall's first sniff at the main event here.
Wow. Yes, it is. And Scott Hall and certainly went on to have a great career, but El Gigante, I don't know how much further he lasted after this run of his. And there you see, on your right, you see one of the referees reach underneath and put the switch back up, but the switch kept falling down. It didn't matter how many times he put it up, the switch kept falling down. But take that out of your mind. We're having a blast here, man. It's Halloween. We got a reefer eye cam going on. We got some guys in masks. We got guys on the outside with white face paint.
We're getting close to the finish here now.
Okay.
So right now, the Diamond Stud and Abdullah the Butcher are trying to put Rick Steiner in the seat. Rick Steiner is abusing everyone with a stick because they left a bad review for Shoney's on Yelp. And Abdullah the Butcher now battling out with Elegante. Nick Patrick in there giving cues, telling everybody to go home with his helmet on. And another referee, Randy Anderson, keeps getting up there. No, that's actually not Randy Anderson. He's holding it. And now Cactus is going to climb up because he believes that Rick Steiner is in the seat, and he turns around, says bang, bang, and now faces the crowd and puts a hand on the switch. I wish he could set a stopwatch because he's got his hand on the switch. It's still there. It's still there. Now Rick Steiner does a belly to belly, puts Abdullah in, cuffs the wrists. Now he's trying to find the headpiece. He cannot find the headpiece. Abdullah has fucking sat on it. He has to wrestle it on top of him. And he's still stalling. Cactus is still stalling. And now he pulls it and he fires it. And by the way, the headpiece is not actually touching Abdullah's head at all.
But he's fucking frying, buddy. Now that is a great visual. Am I wrong?
No, it's a cool visual. It looks like it's out of a horror movie, but they're getting a tight shot on his head and the crown's not on him at all.
All right. There it is.
And you announce on pay-per-view, he's getting cooked. And I think he's well done, guys. And you get tight shots of the flames still existing on the canvas. This is what's amazing to me about this whole thing. Abdullah the Butcher, for all intents and purposes now, is fucking dead, right?
Right.
Something about people coming back to life at goddamn Halloween Havoc. You push the giant off a fucking building, comes back to life, wins the world title.
Yeah, we electrocute someone. Absolutely.
Let's see what happens. So now people aren't sure. Do we acknowledge that he's dead? He's still breathing. We can see that. He's opening his eyes intermittently. He's trying to keep them closed, but by the way, this is live on pay-per-view at the time.
Oh my God. I wonder what the cue was to get, I wonder who told him to stay there that long, or if he's thinking, what do I have to do here? I'm supposed to be dead.
Well, it's probably Vader for a minute, and now it's going to be Mick Foley giving him the cues. There's Klondike Bill sweeping up.
That's right.
And so now Cactus Jack makes his way inside the cage to unstrap his dead friend, the corpse of Abdullah the Butcher, because we just saw a live execution on pay-per-view. He slaps him on the chest a few times, shakes his face.
Uh-huh.
Abdullah, you can't be done. I don't know they're going to re-sign me. I need to make money in Puerto Rico. And he comes back to life and attacks him and immediately kicks guys in the head who are putting down the ramp and starts clearing house. Brian Clark and all the other zombie orderlies, the powdered up or the kabuki orderlies. They're all just covered in baby powder because every time he headbutts one, baby powder goes everywhere. He runs through them like bowling pins. That's exactly what he was. He was a bowling ball. He just rolled his fat ass down there and knocked out all the bowling pins. He got a strike.
And there they go.
So he was dead and now he's back to life. And it's amazing. Abdullah the Butcher was such a shitty worker. He wouldn't even sell electrocution. He no-sold death by electrocution. And you're doing your best to not laugh at this shit.
We're both doing our best to not laugh at this shit. This was, to me, the highlight of the whole, I had a little smile there.
Yeah. They call that corpsing, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but you were just corpsing at the corpse of Abdullah the Butcher. Now, of course, what JR saying is, I tell you what, if they'd have put old Dr. Death in that sumbitch, he wouldn't have even stayed. You hear me? He just got up and walked right out of that motherfucker like the Undertaker. But that's the other show. I can't wait to leave. Speaking of Undertaker, what the fuck is Eric Bischoff wearing? Look at this. Is this not the way everybody in WCW looked at him in 1998 anyway?
Why did people get on my ass about being the Phantom of the Opera in one of these, and no one said anything about him being fucking Count Dracula?
Oh, I want to suck the money out of Turner. Now, how out of place does this look? The Young Pistols, who, by the way, I fucking love. I think they've had one of the best matches ever against the Midnight Express at Great American Bash 1990. One of my top 10 favorite matches ever. But a promo, we just saw a man get electrocuted. And they're like, all right, now baby, we're going to format this card. All right. Once we electrocute the madman from the Sudan, I want him to bowl past 8 orderlies, kabuki orderlies. And then let's throw it to a Tracy Smothers promo. What?
With Count Dracula and a woman with big boobs.
Now, which of the Armstrongs can't talk worth a lick? Get his ass in there too.
Oh boy. Let's go back to the fucking ring. Well, we're off and running there, Conrad, aren't we? Fuck.
If you're keeping score at home right now.
Yeah.
The Observer gave that -2 stars.
That match or that interview?
That.
Okay. And who we got here? What the fuck is this?
Exactly.
The Creature.
This is the type of shit y'all put on pay-per-view, dude. So you're going to follow a live murderous electrocution with 2 job guys under hoods nobody's ever heard of called the Creatures. People paid money for this.
You know what this was? You know how I'm going to blame this on?
Look at Gary Michael Capetta. He looks like the little drummer boy.
He's supposed to be the ringmaster. You see, Barnum and Bailey's fucking circus, and Barnum and Bailey circus wasn't this stupid.
Oh my God. Next year for Halloween, I got to be peeing news. You okay? Dude, I could fucking totally pull off peeing news.
Yeah, I know you could.
Yo, baby, yo. You could be Big Josh. I just need you to die before now and then.
Okay.
Could you die? If you could die, we could be this tag team.
There's been a couple of times on these podcasts I've almost died. So why not?
By the way, his gimmick is he's a rapper, and it's the worst.
Yeah. I thought he was fucking cool, man. You didn't like him?
No. His raps were the fucking worst, dude.
Oh man, they were those raps were pretty cool, yo baby, man. White trash getting into it here. Oh man. He's trying to pump them up, baby. Okay, so we have the Chamber of Horrors. We've got the guys with powder on their face. We got Eric Bischoff dressed up as Dracula. And then we got the Creatures coming out, right?
We're just a few minutes into this shit. By the way, PN News is 52 years old. He's still with us.
Wow. How about that?
So process how young that means he was there, dude.
52, and we're 27. How many years ago was this?
He was 25 right here, man. On pay-per-view against the Creatures. His family must be so proud.
Anyway, to continue the story, Jim Herd said to Dusty Rhodes, you got to have something Halloween themed. We can't just have a goddamn wrestling match. Halloween, you got to do something different. And that's what we did. The Creatures, right? And all this bullshit that we were doing. Am I wrong? Was one of these Creatures Joel Deaton, or was this prior to the Joel Deaton era? I think one of them was.
It's Johnny Rich and Joey Maggs, and they're going to go 5 minutes and 13 seconds. And, it's a star and a quarter. Meltzer would say this match was a complete waste of valuable time, but the work itself was okay.
All right. Here's my response to Dave Meltzer. After the Chamber of Horrors match, what would be considered valuable time with what we got? Well, we had a very good lineup of stars. And you mentioned that earlier, of talent. And we're still going to see Luger. We're still going to see, look at that big guy throw can you throw a drop kick like that?
I can. Yeah. I threw one on my honeymoon.
I bet you did. I bet you did.
I threw a lot of things on my honeymoon. And if you'd like to throw some things, you need Blue Chew. Let me tell you all about it. You know, Tony, you were telling me for the past few months about how you were trying to make love to Lois and you just couldn't get your gimmick working. And I told you to go ahead and give your gimmick the hot tag with Blue Chew. And I know that you're fired up about this because I've seen the permanent smile that's on Lois's face these days. You know, you took her from a button on a fur coat to now, well, hey man, roll tide. Tell us all about your sexcapades with Lois using Blue Chew.
Well, it's made me a man again, Conrad. It's made me a viral man. It made me I don't know what else to say. I'm not going to expose my sex life here on this podcast. What do you want me to do?
Well, here's what I know. I know that Klondike Bill would have been on these because he used to chew up panties, but now he could be chewing Blue Chew because they make the world's first chewable. And it's got the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, and it's going to work faster on a full or empty stomach. And maybe best of all is I know you're like an undercover perv. Like you don't want everybody in your real life to know how pervy you are. So you like to keep it low key. Well, Blue Chew keeps it low key too, because you don't have to go to the doctor's office and say, hey, my dinghy don't work. Instead, you can just do it all online and then they just deliver it to your house. Now I want to be clear about this. This is not just if you're like Tony and that ship has sailed, right? Where it's just like when it finally comes out, you're drowning people. This is something where if you just need to step up your game, you want a little more confidence. And this is maybe the most popular drug in wrestling right now. A decade ago, it was something else. 2 decades ago, it was probably Soma's. Now, man, everybody is doing Blue Chew because they want that confidence in bed. Their partners love it and you will too. It's made right here in the USA. And it shows up in discreet packaging. It's a great deal what we've got for them right now, Tony. Tell them all about it.
Visit BlueChew.com. Get your first order free when you use promo code WHW. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BLUE chew.com. Promo code WHW. Your first order free, only pay the $5 in shipping. How about that? Dude,
you're going to be stiffer than Scott Steiner in 1991. Go knock it out right now. BlueChew.com and use that promo code WHW. You're going to be glad you did. Seriously, this is a fun product to talk about, but it's a great product to use. Tony, you had more blood flow there than Mankind in the first match, right?
Well, it had been a long time. But it's resurrected some things in my house.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, man. It probably is putting a lot of butts in the seats, and you're putting a lot of things in a lot of butts now, thanks to Blue Chew. So check it out and use that promo code WHW. Give your gimmick the hot tag.
Yes. And give your wife the greatest night in the history of sex.
And this is the greatest night in the history of our great sport. And you know what? If the tape machines are rolling, just slide into Tony's DMs. He would love to see it. Would love to see it.
Any more Shivani cliches want to throw in here? I mean, I don't know if there's any more.
How much longer till we get that Shivani sex tape on Patreon?
No, you're not. I'm not doing that.
What? Why not? It wouldn't be very long.
Well, I know it wouldn't. The only thing it would be a couple of belly bumps, and that'd be about it.
I mean, you told me the routine is up, down, squirt. I don't even know what that means.
Whoa. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Thank God.
Just like when you got Blue Chew and Lois in the same room together. 1, 2, 3, it's over. Oh my God. And then you got up, did the Arsenio fist pump and said, yo, baby, yo. And then you started pointing downstairs and said, what do you think about old Big Josh? There you go.
Big Josh.
That's how you sell dick pills, boys and girls. That's how you do it.
Yeah, old Big Josh. You know what? You know the bad news about this? I'm gonna have to name it Big Josh now.
You went from button on a fur coat to Big Josh. Now, folks, I don't know if you saw what's happening there, but we had a fella out here rapping about what he was going to do, and he did it with a guy who's going to be a goddamn clown. Not the kind of clowns we look like right now, Tony, but Doink when he goes north. You were just up there. Do you think you could put in a good word for me?
Yeah, I'm sure I can, Jim. And he also wrestled 2 motherfuckers with green masks on. Where did they get those fucking green masks? I don't know.
Dude, this is seriously the most thrown together pay-per-view ever. The Observer let the readers go ahead and take a poll. They gave it 63% thumbs up and 32% thumbs down, only 4.3% in the middle. The best match is Terrence Taylor and Bobby Eaton. The worst match Van Hammer and Doug Summers, but it just barely beats the Chamber of Horrors. So an interesting time in professional wrestling, because this show is happening, of course, in 1991 when Ric Flair has jumped ship. He's not here on this pay-per-view. And around the same time you guys are doing this show, they're doing the world's first ever Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair match in the WWF. How about that?
And that was where? Madison Square Garden? Was that the first one?
No, it happened in Dayton, Ohio on October 22nd. And then they took it to Oakland, Los Angeles, and Tempe. So they hit a few shots with it. They drew 13,400 fans in Oakland for a $157,000 gate. By comparison here, you guys have what looks like a full house, but it's really 8,900 fans, but a house of 45,000. So only about half are paid. The other half are comps. Speaking of people who should have never been paid in wrestling, Terry Taylor is in the ring now, and he's with one of your favorites, Alexandria York.
Marlena, Terry Boatwright, wife of the natural Dustin Rhodes, and wife of Goldust, who this was the beginning of her wrestling career. She was only a makeup girl from Turner Broadcasting prior to that, but had a beautiful look about her. And of course went on to be quite the sex star, sexy star.
Whoa. Well, that's actually why Dusty had heat with her, allegedly.
Sexy star. I didn't mean to say
sexy star is a female wrestler.
Okay. She was a very sexy young lady.
What was the heat with Dusty and Dustin regarding her?
There was a feeling that she was just there, that she banged a lot of the guys, which I can tell you right now, I don't know. I don't think it happened. And Dusty didn't think too much of her by being around the business like she was. You know, she had been around the business a long time before she became a valet.
In fairness, I feel like we should mention here that there is certainly a segment of wrestlers who think you keep your wife as far away from the business as possible.
No question.
And Dusty probably subscribed to that because we didn't see Michelle ever on TV, and she may have been around sporadically, but she was not a staple at the shows. Fair to say?
Right. Fair to say. So that is probably a very good theory on all of this.
Yeah. So again, I'm saying that just to say sometimes women in wrestling, if they do date someone, then they get this stigma, whether that's fair or not. And they get painted with a brush that's maybe not the most flattering. So a lot of the guys wanted to find someone who wasn't in the business and then would keep them as far away as they possibly could.
Right. Well, you know, one of the big rumors in WCW at this time.
What's that?
I think I may have mentioned this on an earlier broadcast that Tony Schiavone was banging Terry Boatwright.
Well, we know that's not true. You didn't have Blue Chew back then.
Well, thank you. That's right. I wasn't banging Terry Boatwright. And again, everybody thought because Terry and I met many times and talked about this persona of hers, what to come up with, and we were friends and we got along, everybody naturally thought, well, now she's at ringside. And why is she at ringside? Because she's fucking Tony Schiavone.
You know what? That's probably why Dusty had heat with Dustin, if we're honest. God damn it, boy, you can't talk to her. She even fucked Schiavone. You can't be Eskimo brothers with Schiavone. Have some goddamn self-decency, some respect. You're a Rhodes. Can't follow Schiavone.
My good friend, Jody Hamilton, who was, of course, the assassin, one of the funniest guys ever, he would say, so tell me how it is. I said, what are you talking about? Tell me. Come on. We all want to know. Can we smell your fingers? No, what are you talking about? Terry Boatwright, you know you're fucking her. I said, I don't know I'm fucking her. I'm not fucking her. I said, stop it. I said, don't think that I'm like you guys. Okay? I'm not a coxman. Okay?
Whoa,
I'm not
whoa.
Don't go, whoa,
Did
whoa.
you just break out the word coxman on the show?
What's wrong? You don't like the word coxman?
I want to do another Blue Chew promo right now because I feel like with a little Blue Chew, you too can be a Tony Schiavone style coxman. You could just run through the list of all the women you had in the quote unquote makeup chair.
Well, look, do I have to defend myself every time we get on this show?
What I do, boys and girls, I get them in the makeup chair and then I paint their face, you see. That old Tony Schiavone Coxman. I put a lot of butts in the seats. Tape machines are rolling, baby.
Yeah.
Man, now that you're on Blue Chew, we're going to make so much money on Cowboys for Angels. You know, as your manager, I get 10%. And as your agent, I get 10%.
Stop that. Absolutely stop that.
You know, there's this thing in real estate called comparable sales. So you compare the price that one house sells for.
Yeah.
And then, you know, once you sort of have three similar houses, then you take an average and you figure out what your house is worth. That's the way you do an appraisal. Well,
okay.
if I'm trying to see what the comps are for what people might pay to have sex with Tony Schiavone, I don't know that it's going to make very much money.
Pay to have sex? Can I? We said that this Meltzer said this was the best match of the card, right?
No. Meltzer didn't say that. The readers of the Wrestling Observer voted it that way. Meltzer gave this 3.5 stars. They're going to go 15 minutes and 41 seconds.
All right. So I was wondering why we were doing a lot of dick jokes during this match, but I guess
it's 15 minutes. There's 2 15-minute matches on this show.
Oh my God.
And then, you know, the actual, well, I don't know if you'd count how you're going to count the main event because there's so many falls. I do want to mention though, that $45,000 is the house. And it's pretty unfortunate here, the timing of this show. You touched on it earlier with the World Series, but they've got head to head with the biggest football game of the year, which is the Giants and the Redskins on ESPN. And this is back when the NFC East was legit, you know,
right.
And you've got the 7th game of the World Series. So almost everyone would have to assume this is going to be a horrible failure, but it's really not. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a home run, but financially it's probably not the disaster you imagine it was when you found out you were head to head with that, right?
No, what was the buy rate for this?
I'm pulling that up right now.
Okay. That they have. So, you know, again, these things always made money. Even when the buy rates were low, the old word in the backstage area was, you know, a pay-per-view, it's a cash cow.
Right.
You're going to make money.
I mean, you know, it's not gangbusters. It's 120,000 buys, but when you hear what you're up against,
right.
Well, and even let's fast forward, like Beach Blast 92 and Great American Bash 92, those do 70,000 buys. So even here though, this is down from Great American Bash, which was the first show that Flair missed on pay-per-view. That did 145,000 buys. I think everybody would expect your first pay-per-view without Flair, because Flair was sort of a last minute cancellation at Great American Bash.
Yeah.
There is going to be a bit of a dip. So we go from 145 to 120, but by Starrcade, we're back up to 155. But again, Starrcade is your tentpole event, as you would say. But at the same time, you're not up against the biggest football game and the biggest and most important baseball game of the year. It's down from the prior year because the prior year's Halloween Havoc did 160,000 buys. But again, that's with Flair. That's not against the Game 7. That's not against the biggest football game. So you've got a lot of things against it to where even this house, which isn't awesome, you got to feel like we survived it.
And again, I've said this many times, Halloween Havoc, we kind of considered Halloween Havoc our premier event. You mentioned that the biggest baseball game of the year was not only the biggest baseball game of the year, it was the biggest baseball game in the South. The Atlanta Braves were the South's team. And everybody from Tennessee to Georgia to Alabama to Mississippi, they were all big Braves fans. And so this was a big deal. And here we are with a pay-per-view.
When you guys are hearing that they're finally doing Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, after so many people have talked about that being the dream match, is anybody thinking, well, fuck, we're dead? Because
no.
for years, Flair was your saving grace, you know, as a draw, and now he's gone and he's with their biggest guy.
No, I thought they fucked that up.
Well, but you didn't know, nobody. I'm not saying that. This is when you find out they're just now doing it. Sure, in hindsight, they fucked it up. You don't know they're going to fuck it up at this point. At this point, you've got to be thinking, hey, they're doing this on house shows in October. And that's to set the table for Royal Rumble, where they'll have a big pay-per-view, and then they're going to do WrestleMania 8 with Flair Hogan. The wrestling world thought Flair Hogan was happening at WrestleMania 8. Did they not?
Yes, but again, my old school mentality thought that would have been the first and only time they should have had the match. I thought they watered it down by the time they got to. I thought it was going to be WrestleMania 8, and that was going to be the big one, and you would not see Hogan and against Flair up until that time. When I found out they were working, as you said, Dayton, Ohio, and all the other house shows, I thought, that's terrible the way they're doing it.
Wow.
But again, you're right, thinking that Hogan and Flair would be the big thing, but I don't think they built it up well enough. Now, I know, again, here we are, years later, decades later. How about that York rule sign?
Oh,
wow.
she was over. Come on.
Yeah. But I just, yeah. Conrad, I never thought about that. I never thought about the business like that. I never thought about us versus them. I thought about us versus us.
I feel like I should mention the reason they did that angle with Barry Windham to start the pay-per-view is because 5 days prior to this in Columbus, Georgia, he was doing a squash match and he landed wrong doing a bulldog and he broke his wrist in 4 places. And it's serious enough that he's going to be out of action for like 6 months or more. So they're doing the slam on the door here just to make sure that we've got an explanation as to why he's not actually working tonight.
It was supposed to be the enforcers against Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham, if I recall.
I guess we should also mention here that, this is the era where Paul Lee is going to come back later in the show. And Paul Lee had been a pretty controversial figure around WCW, but he's going to show up here as the manager of Rick Rude and Medusa. And Meltzer would write, a lot transpired over the past week in that situation, which was still touch and go until 2 hours before the show was scheduled to begin. Dangerously had announced a press conference on Friday at the China Club in New York to talk about his suspension. And 2 days before the press conference at WCW, the steering committee meeting, Jim Crockett brought up Dangerously back as the lead manager, a position that was first offered to Jim Cornette, who turned it down, much to everyone's expectations, although they still made the offer. And it seems to be pretty much accepted by everyone that the company made a mistake in suspending him for something that he says he never did. And there was no proof whatsoever that he ever did. And if he did it, it wasn't an offense worthy of a suspension to begin with. So he's back here. And, what was the feeling when you found out that Paul Lee was back? He's certainly a lightning rod for controversy, even in this era.
Yeah, he is. But the feeling with most of us was we're glad to get him back. We're glad to get somebody back that can cut a great promo, that can, that knows the wrestling business. I'm not so sure Jim Herd was happy to have him back, to be honest with you. But I think many of us, like JR, myself, we're happy that Paul Lee was back with us. Interesting that you would use the term steering committee. It's funny because I guess I was part of that steering committee at times. Steering the company in the fucking wrong direction, I guess. I don't know. But Jim Herd, Jim Barnett, Jim Crockett, Jim Ross, a lot of Jims there. And I was part of it at times, talked more about than just the booking. They talked about, what the company should do. And listen, Paul Lee was and still is one of the best promos in the business. So why not welcome him back?
Ricky Steamboat is making the news because he's asked for his release from the WWF. They have brought him in here as the fire breathing dragon. And he's just been working mostly squash matches where he's blowing this fire, and they're trying to shoot an angle here where he's going to blow a bunch of fire at a bunch of Ted DiBiase's money at the television taping. And that would lead to a match between them at the Survivor Series. But then he gives notice saying he wants to spend more time at home, effective on December 16th. And then later he would come in and ask if he could finish up on November 28th, which would even eliminate some of the matches they had lined up with him and DiBiase through December, because in that era, you use the pay-per-view and your television to just build your house show business. So Steamboat agreed to do jobs at the arenas and on his way out, but then he refused to do jobs to the Undertaker and IRS at a set of television tapings on the 21st, 6 days prior to the show. And that was in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So when he refused, he was fired. He's out of here. Just get out of here. And the WWF slant to this story is that they had spent 6 months pushing this dragon character, and they're finally in a spot where they felt like they had an angle that could help them draw money and get a return. But now he's out of here and wants to spend more time with the family. And that was a common thing for Ricky. It feels like we hear this story a lot where he wanted to go home, spend more time with the family. Do you think that, you know, he enjoyed wrestling, but you know, the travel was just too much for him, and maybe he probably regretted getting into the business at certain points?
I think he regretted getting into the business after he married Bonnie.
There you go.
Because I think most people thought that she kind of controlled him. If that's really true or not, I don't have anything to, but she was apparently a very demanding wife. And so to appease her, I guess he had to be home a little bit more. So there you go. Blame Bonnie for all this.
He's claiming that the WWF, when he leaves, that he's only going to be working independent shows near his home, and he had no interest in going to WCW. When you hear that he's leaving the WWF, you had to be thinking, well, he'll be back here just any time.
Yeah,
right.
No question. And when he finally came back, I think I was shocked, and I don't think anybody had an answer for me. I was shocked to find out that he could bring the dragon gimmick with him. I thought he had to get rid of that.
So let me run through. This is fun now. Let's run through this.
All right.
He gives notice on the 21st of October saying it's too much on the road. Need to spend more time at home with the family. Just going to work independence. You know, not going to WCW. Just going to work independence around my house so I can be home with the family. Showed up for you guys at the Clash of the Champions on November 19th. Less than 1 month later, he back.
That's right.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is.
And technically it's not a lie. He is working shows closer to the house now. He's not in the Northeast. He's probably in fucking Columbus, Georgia, and Raleigh and Durham. He's not in Boston, right?
Right. And I guess in many eyes, we were an independent promotion back then.
Thank God Huntsville beat Terry Taylor.
That was a hell of an Alabama jam that we just saw too.
By the way, the rumor and innuendo, I had one of our friends of the show, Mr. Doug Markham, a referee who does a lot of independent stuff here in the South.
Yeah.
Tell me that I was mistaken, and that beautiful Bobby with a beautiful top rope leg drop there, the old Alabama jam. He lives in Nashville now.
Bobby lives in Nashville?
Yeah. So if you're thinking what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking what you're thinking, then I'm thinking that you're thinking that I'm thinking what I'm thinking, and you're thinking what I'm thinking.
He needs to be at Zany's.
Yeah. I think everybody needs to be at Zany's. And you know what? I don't think we've been talking about this enough, if I'm honest with you. Me and you are going back to Crockett Country, dude.
Yes, we are going back to Crockett Country, and it's coming up in just a couple of weeks, Conrad.
TomZink.com is where you can get your tickets. The Comedy Zone, we're going to be there quicker than a hiccup, man. November 11th, 11/11. We're going to be there at 3:00 in the afternoon and trying to make you laugh. What happened when Tony Schiavone came back to Charlotte? Tickets are just $35, and you can do a VIP meet and greet, get some better seating, get your picture with us, some autographs. And we've got so much stuff that we've been sharing a Google Doc back and forth with silly ideas. And, some of this stuff we would never do on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to really trying to stretch here, see how ridiculous we can get.
Speaking of ridiculous, here, Michael Hayes, Jimmy Garvin. Of course, Michael Hayes, a big Braves knucklehead. I do need to say this for all our low-key big hogs and all our Glass Bottom Boat members on Patreon who want to come to the show. You can now send your request to helloslapdicks@gmail.com. helloslapdicks@gmail.com, because when this is first dropping on Monday on Patron is our 2-week window for the show.
So you didn't explain anything there. So do you want to elaborate on why you just gave an email address? You said send your requests. Requests for what, Tony? If they'd like nudes, send nudes.
You get, by being a member of our top tier Patreon, you get 2 tickets to one of our shows, VIP tickets to one of our shows as part of your package. No charge.
What?
They're included with your package.
We're not charging for these?
We're not charging not our low key big hogs, not our glass bottom boat members.
My goodness.
If you want to come, you can only get 2 if you want to come to Charlotte or you want to come to Nashville. Now, if you want to come to Charlotte, send us your requests at helloslapdicks@gmail.com.
Should they also send nudes?
I would hope not.
Okay.
I've had some one-on-one meetings with some of our low-key big hogs, and I can't tell you there's one of them that I want to see in the nude.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for both of us, but I wouldn't want to see one of them guys naked.
if you had to pick somebody who's in the ring right now to see naked, why is it Mark Marrow?
Because he looks like a male stripper.
Well,
And
to me, I thought you'd go Mark Marrow or Teddy Long. I didn't imagine you were going to pick the Freebirds.
I would, if I wanted to see anybody naked, I would want to see Michael Hayes naked.
Wait, are you being serious right now? Why do you want to see Michael Hayes naked? I was trying to be funny, but I think you're being sincere. You put real thought into that.
No, I'm not. I just wanted to give you something to fucking jump on, and that's what you did.
Do you think his Peter has a mullet too?
It might. And it wears sunglasses.
Hey.
Look at little bird. Little bird got a one eye on him.
That's old Freebird down there.
Yeah.
That's my big Josh.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just kidding. I call mine Terry. That's Buddy. That's Bam Bam. Get that blue chew in me. It's Bam Bam. You hear me?
Oh God. Oh, what a throughout the history of time, has there been any bigger gimmick than Michael Hayes?
Hey, I'm going to call it Fritz. Cause when you're done with it, you ain't going to be able to get over it. I could never get over on Fritz. Bad Street, Atlanta, GA.
Da-da-da-da. Baddest street in the whole USA.
By the way, I saw Leonard Skinner over the weekend in concert in Nashville.
Right?
And Cassio made the astute observation, man, he looks like a miniature Michael Hayes. And I sent him a picture of Michael Hayes and the band, and yep, he's the missing member.
Is Ricky Medlock still with them?
He is 84 years old and still wearing skulls on his jeans and rocking out. It was a great concert. They do a great job.
Oh yeah, I know. They always have.
I think Medlock is Hayes' boy too.
Oh yeah. Medlock used to come to all of our events.
He's not really 80. He's 68.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he looks 80.
He looks like the goddamn crypt keeper.
Yes, he does. He did back at that time.
Drugs are bad. Okay.
Yeah. We did an interview with Michael Hayes, Medlock, and the other kid who I think is no longer with us, Rossington. Is he still with the band or has he passed away?
I think he's like the main dude. He's still there.
Okay. So anyway, I did an interview with him and Rossington was drunk out of his fucking mind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. He's still jamming, dude.
Okay. But good for him. Was drunk out of his face. It was a tremendous interview with Medlock and Michael Hayes and Rossington. And it's funny that Rossington made more sense than anybody else. And he was smack ass drunk. I'd like to be able to somewhere in the archives of the network be able to find that interview that I did with them. Tremendous.
So right now we've got Johnny B. Bad, who's a motivational speaker now, working with a private jet pilot,
right?
Jimmy Jam Garvin.
Yeah.
And we've got one of the top producers for WWE taking his arm out of a sling and throwing a punch on the floor.
I'm glad you called him one of the top producers of the WWE. I was going to call him one of Vince's butt boys.
That's hurtful.
Yeah, well, Michael. And then, of course, we got the Hall of Famer on the other side as well. Again, I want to reiterate something that we did on one of our bonus podcasts that you can only get on Patreon when we do 2 per month. And that is Jimmy Jam Garvin, as you mentioned back then. And this was back then was when he was Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, is one of the more underrated workers that we have ever had.
Why do you think that is? Why don't you think he gets his just due?
Maybe because the Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin gimmick was not a quote unquote serious gimmick. And maybe because after that, he became just a kind of a late run Freebird. I don't know, but he was good, man. Look at this stuff. He could do some great, look at that forearm shot.
No,
Garvin.
I've always felt he was underrated. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, me too.
I do want to mention that we had some pretty interesting shows as our bonus shows on Patreon. If you're not with us on Patreon, you should at least check out what we're doing this month, because we've got the famous episode. And man, this really tickled Rick when I sent him a link to the interview, or I guess he saw the kiss cam graphic, because Dave Silva made a hilarious kiss cam graphic of Ric Flair making out with a mannequin on TBS. That actually happened. He brought out a mannequin with a wig on and lingerie and put the moves on it. And that's the show we reviewed this week. And I thought it was hysterical. So I found the interview when Rick was laughing about the graphic that Silva made and sent it to him. And he just called me tickled with how fucking hilarious it was.
Right. I'm glad you did that, because I had, as soon as Silva sent me the graphic with Ric Flair kissing the mannequin, I turned around and sent it to Flair. And I said, I hope you enjoy our next podcast. I know the mannequin back in 87 did. And he texted me back, woo! He said, how do I get that footage? And I said, from the FBI, they use it in sexual offenders orientation. But you sent him the real footage. And he said, oh God, please have somebody send it to me. So that's great. And that's just the fun that we have on Patreon. We have bonus podcasts that are suggested by our patrons. And we just do some very unique stuff and some very unique videos as well.
So the other bonus show this month was a wrestling challenge from 1989 when you were up there. And it was fun to watch old school WWF. I was such a fan in 1989. And of course, they had to pick something with Brutus the fucking Barber Beefcake.
Well, that was just for you. And
by the way, this match is going to go 8 minutes and 25 seconds. And they're going to get 2 3/4 stars. So not a bad rating from 2 guys who were maybe criminally underrated.
Yeah. Again, Johnny B. Bad, for as green as he was back then, Mark Merrow could do some pretty good stuff. Didn't you think so? I mean, it was kind of a glitter show and kind of maybe a silly gimmick, but he played it up and he was not a bad worker. I mean, he was okay worker.
Michael Hayes here is over, whether we want to joke otherwise or not. Meltzer would write, Michael Hayes was in the corner with his arm in a sling, even though he wasn't hurt, but they needed to establish Garvin as the face here. And had Garvin come out by himself, Bad may have gotten more cheers. Plus they wanted Hayes out of the match with Van Hammer, because he may have gotten an overwhelming amount of cheers, and somebody somewhere is determined to shove Van Hammer down our throats. Bad showed a lot of improvement and took great bumps, although he was also green in a lot of ways. Garvin was more inspired than usual, and Bad broke his nose doing a sunset flip off the top rope. That's the finish here, or what they were looking for. The finish sees Garvin hit the DDT, but Teddy Long is distracted and the ref doesn't make the count. So, Michael Hayes gets involved here and decks Teddy Long after the match.
Yeah. I think we just saw the sunset flip attempt that he broke his nose with. I think we just missed that as you were talking. So Johnny B. Bad's in a little trouble here. Michael, listen, good God. I don't know if you've seen on the network. I've talked to him. See the blood that John and Johnny Bed's
Yep.
face. And the Freebirds were sensational. They were absolutely sensational when they first started and through the years. And Michael Hayes, Bam Bam, Terry Gordy was a great worker, and then there was Buddy, but Michael Hayes was the embodiment of the Freebirds.
Oh, without question, as you would say.
Right.
Michael Hayes was to the Freebirds what Ric Flair was to the Horsemen.
Right. No question. Love to give him a hard time, but we do because he's a friend.
I think that's weird that so many of our listeners think we fucking legit hate him.
Right.
Like I get messages all the time. Why are you so hard on Michael? And it's like, he's our buddy. Well,
yeah.
you shouldn't talk about your buddies like that. I'm like, who are you friends with? Yes. You shit on your buddies the most. It's funny. We're not.
It is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like sometimes I'll just be sitting at home, minding my own business, and I'll get a text from Conrad Thompson that says, "Fuck you, dickwad."
I've never said "fuck you, dickwad."
You never have?
No.
Must have been Casio that said that.
Yeah. I'm sure he does that. I'm sure. Oh, you know what? I know he did because there was somebody in his studio the other day who was a huge wrestling fan.
Right.
And, he said, "Hey, you know who Tony Schiavone is?" And he's like, "Oh, hell yeah, I know who Tony Schiavone is." So he sent, "Fuck you, dickwad." And then you responded with more foul language. He says,
Right.
"Look, Tony Schiavone's cussing me out right now." And the guy thought it was the coolest thing ever. So you're now that guy.
Okay. Yes. If you text me, you're going to hear back from me. But yeah, we like to give people a lot of shit. And, here's the, and one of the people we give a lot of shit to, of course, is Scott Steiner, who has become friends of mine, but still hates your ass, which is, I think is hilarious. And Scott and I had a real long talk recently in Waynesboro, Virginia. By the way, I don't know if I've talked about this on our weekly podcast that you can hear here on MLW Radio, but also you can hear on Patreon. I don't know if I talked anything about it. Let's take a look at the finish again. Look at the DDT. And then, of course, Michael Hayes got involved. But I sure had a great time at NWA 70, Conrad. Really had a great time. And thanks to Billy Corrigan, thanks to Dave, thanks to Jeff Jarrett, everybody involved in that. Thanks to you for even suggesting that I get in touch with them and be a part of that show. It was a lot of fun. And, of course, I love Cody and Nick Aldis, just great guys.
I'm the best agent you ever had.
I know you are, man. I know you are. I wish I'd have. How old were you back then? And how were you back in 91?
I was 10.
All right. Well, shit, I would have had a 10-year-old agent back then.
I'd have been cutting deals.
Damn Missy, man.
It would have been for G.I. Joes and Playboys, but we'd have been well stocked. Bobby Eaton carrying a pumpkin as he's talking to Missy Hyatt. I don't know if there's some imagery here we're supposed to see.
If he had had two pumpkins, one in each hand, there would have been.
If somebody had a pumpkin head to think they needed a Bobby Eaton promo, and he probably had a mouthful of pumpkins.
Exactly. She wanted to talk to somebody and Bobby wouldn't talk to her, even though he had a big win.
Hey, we talked about the fact that Missy Hyatt used to have like a wrestling porn site, right? Did you ever go to that back in the day?
No, I never did. Look at Lady Blossom, would you?
Why didn't you go to it?
Because I'm not into porn.
Whoa.
I'm not into porn. You're looking at me like like your head's going to explode.
Well, because I know differently. Like what do
you mean what do you know?
You put me on Tylene Buck. You were like, man, you got to see this Major Guns. Look at this. Look at these flotation devices. No. You're the one. You showed me the Sunny porn.
I did?
You said, man, she poots at the end. Hang in there. And now you're like, no. No.
Poots at the end. She poots at the end?
You didn't know that?
She poots.
Yeah.
That's got to be a shirt at lowestrules.com.
It already is a shirt at bridgepritchard.com.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, we've been talking about she pooted for like 2 years.
Okay, she pooted.
She did.
I don't buy that at all. You're full of shit.
Well, I'm gonna make you watch it now. We're gonna do that on Patreon as a bonus.
We're gonna
Next one, a little watch along with the Sunny porn.
While she poots.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to do it with the sound on during that part because you won't believe it. Or we could just do the effect. You me reenact it for you real fast?
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Fuck me. Fuck. There it is. Oh. You okay?
Don't make that sound again.
It was a little squeaker. She didn't want to let it out, but I mean, when you gotta go, I guess there's more room outside than inside. I don't know.
Oh, Lord. Oh, shit.
You got to come to a Bruce Pritchard live show to see the full experience. I'm just going to give you a little tease there.
Oh, God.
By the way, the match happening right now is a very young Stone Cold Steve Austin, about 5 years before he would start to set the business on fire, 6.5 years before he is the top star in the entire world. And he's taking on a guy who will eventually be androgynous. But here he is a 21-year-old Dustin Rhodes, and these guys are going to go to a 15-minute draw for the television title. A lot of great moves and counter moves. And here's a great line from Meltzer, man. If there is anyone in the U.S. with the potential to be the next Ric Flair as a total all-around performer, it's Austin, because he's so advanced and has an incredible presence and ability for just 2 years in the business. Rhodes isn't too far behind him either. So puts him over huge. Austin's going to get color about 13 minutes in. And Meltzer would say Rhodes should have gone for a few more near falls in the last 90 seconds, but it's set up for one hot move at the end before time ran out. 3.25 stars.
Yeah, I would give it even more than that. I would give it 4 stars because both guys could really work. And it's hard for me to shit on Dave Meltzer now. You know who that is? That lady right there?
I believe that's Dustin's grandmother.
Yeah, it's Dusty Rhodes' mom. Yeah, that's exactly right. But he's exactly right about what a great star. And we all knew this. We all knew exactly what Dave Meltzer was saying, that Steve Austin was going to be the next big star of the business. We just did not know how to make him that. And of course he goes to Vince and then he becomes who he is. And I firmly believe that there are so many things that tilted the scale in the wrestling wars back then. Attitude Era, us being a bunch of fuck ups or whatever. But I think the overriding factor was Stone Cold.
And you were Shivani.
No, I don't think I have anything to do with it.
Hey, let's talk about something controversial for a minute. You want to?
Sure.
WWE is going to Saudi Arabia next week.
Yeah. Right.
What would you do?
If I ran the business?
Yeah.
I'd go.
All right.
We're talking about $100 million. I'd absolutely go. Are they going?
Yep.
Yep.
And they're pulling out all the stops. Certain people were online spilling the beans accidentally about surprises. And we won't give you a spoiler here, but it's going to be a big show, and it's going to be pretty controversial, I'm sure, because it's all anybody's talking about. And there's a huge debate online with people who think that, it's in poor taste for them to go, and they're putting money against humanity, and, it's a different thing. But, I've talked to people who are strong either direction. Guys who feel really, really strongly that you have a responsibility to the business. And most of all, you signed a contract.
Exactly.
So you have to honor the contract. And then I've talked to other people who think it's, the right thing to do to not go, and stock be damned. contracts be damned. Humanity comes before. And I talked to somebody else who felt so strongly the other way. They said, I'd take the bone saw, which I was like, wow. I know that's supposed to be funny, but wow.
Wow. Well, I am not that, to be honest with you, because I don't delve into politics at all. And I don't watch news at all because it's all turns me off. I'm not sure exactly what this is all about. I guess it's about a writer or journalist being killed, and now they say he was murdered by the country. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that's enough to keep you from doing your job? What the fuck? Go, and look, their stock's going to take a hit anyway, one way or the other. But it's a $100 million deal. It's $100 million deal. And if you don't like it, don't watch it. So, I am so anti-establishment. That's just the way I am. I'm the type of person, if they say, don't do it, I think you should. If everybody online says, no, don't do it, I think you should. Just the way I am. But they're doing a lot of very unique things in the WWE right now with their Evolution pay-per-view that was just this past weekend, and now this Super Show, and they're bringing back a lot of the former stars. I saw Rey Mysterio Jr. I've seen the Big Show. Wow. What's old is new again, Conrad, and we're living proof, right?
Yeah.
Nostalgia sells. Absolutely.
Without question, as you would say.
Do I say that a lot?
Without question.
And without question, Lady Blossom was pretty good looking back then.
She's on Twitter.
Yeah, I know. I think she follows me, or I follow her on Twitter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I saw the NWA show that we did, the NWA Fan Fest that we did a couple years ago. She was there. Got to reconnect with her and talk to her.
Oh,
Swedish.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
And how did it go?
It went fine. Why has everything got to be sexual with you, son?
What is that? What? I asked how your meeting with her went, and now you're assuming that I'm being sexual. Man, you got a dirty mind.
No, there's two ways to say this. Is how did it go? Or, oh, how did it go?
Oh, I was just low key, man.
Yeah,
I think
right.
You're making assumptions here. Hey, are you watching Impact these days?
Impact? No.
Yeah, nobody else is either. I think they only had 98,000 viewers this past week, but all 98,000 were excited to see something that I think I need to introduce you to.
All right.
Are you in the loop on Scarlett Bordeaux? I think she would be your new favorite lady in wrestling.
Think she would top Francine?
Yeah.
Scarlett Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Okay.
Throw it in your Google machine.
I will throw it in my Google machine as we're talking right now. And let me ask you this, or let me say this. Our buddy, Dave Hancock, was it Dave Hancock got to meet Francine recently?
Nope. He did not. He talked to her on Twitter.
Okay. Scarlett Bordeaux.
Check your email.
Okay. I'll check my email.
I sent you her Twitter. I think she's going to be your new favorite lady in wrestling. I think you might actually volunteer to do bonus episodes of us watching Impact.
Okay.
I'm just saying, Deborah, Marlena, Medusa. I've established Tony Schiavone has a type.
Okay. And what would that type be? Please let me know.
Click your email and it'll all come clearly.
Okay. Oh. Wow. Yeah, I like Scarlett.
Yeah.
And let's see. I think I've seen Scarlett before.
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay, hey, Scarlett. So she's like the only thing that Impact's got right now?
Oh, no. I was just busting balls. Impact's actually, you should watch it. They've got a great presentation now. They've got some really cool angles. They're in a cool building. They've got smart bookers. They've got talented guys. Sammy Callahan's doing a great job down there. And yeah, it's a good show. It's unfortunate their ratings are taking a dip right now, but I'm sure they'll turn it around because they've got the right leadership and the right look. And I want them to be around for a long, long time. And I hope that, they continue to have success. I know their pay-per-views have been doing really, really well.
What are they on?
They're on Pop, P-O-P. Yeah.
Okay.
It's probably channel 3000 for you.
Yeah. I'm going to have to check it out. I really am.
Yeah.
Because, I with my involvement of Major League Wrestling, MLW, and doing what I did recently for NWA 70, I'm really enjoying life in wrestling again, thanks to you, most of all, but also because I'm enjoying what I'm seeing outside of the WWE. I think everybody is.
Yeah, there's a ton of options right now. You've got more options now than we've had in a long, long time. By the way, Steve Austin and Dustin Rhodes are having a hell of a match here. And I know it didn't win the Observer Reader poll for best match of the night, but I might even say this is the best match of the night.
I don't think there's any question. I'm sorry, without question.
Thank you.
Okay. It's the best match.
You know what? Let's see how many more times I can get you to say that today. Is Scarlett Bordeaux your new favorite lady in wrestling?
Without question. No. I like her, but Francine's still my girl.
Yeah, but listen, Francine's retired.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count.
Okay. Are you talking about current?
Yeah.
Oh no, my favorite current girl in wrestling is Selena De La Renta.
MLW shill.
Exactly. Okay, it's Thunder Rosa.
That's a hell of a name.
Yeah. I love Thunder Rosa, man. And I told Court Bauer, I said, we need to get Thunder Rosa in here. And he never did, He said, we'll check into it. Like, what the fuck? Like, fuck you, Tony. You don't have any good input into our company. So
I don't think he meant that now.
Well, he didn't go out and get her.
But he did get you a Luke Skywalker costume that nobody understood.
Yeah. Isn't that something? And, I wanted to bring that home with me, but they had rented it. So, but Matt Stryker was dressed up like a crab. You're ripping me about being Luke Skywalker, and he was dressed up like a crab. I always seem to get the fucking heat.
I didn't know Matt Stryker was on this show.
Not this show, but he was on that show.
Yeah, but it's my job to fuck with you.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I would just.
If I was doing a podcast with Matt Stryker, I would talk about, hey, you got the Luke Skywalker. You got to be a goddamn crab. But I see I'm not. So now I'm like, you look like a penis druid.
Is that what I look like? A penis druid?
Yeah.
What's a penis druid?
You saw All In. Joey Ryan came back to life. He was the ghost of Joey Ryan, but he came back because instead of the Undertaker's druids, there were 12 men dressed in giant penis costumes.
I didn't look like that.
Oh yeah, you did. But instead of the druids, I guess we could call them the fluids.
Hey, meanwhile, this match is
it's good, but it's going to be a draw, which, sometimes JR would say it's like kissing your sister, which tells me they do different shit in Oklahoma.
I'm not saying anything about what JR did in Oklahoma.
Well, I'll tell you what, he kissed his sister at least once because he had to be able to reference it. You reckon old him and Dr. Death ever went down and kissed each other's sisters? Or he just kept it to their own?
No.
That's a surprise.
Wow.
What?
You're not drawing me into this shit.
Huh.
Oh, they are really going. Look at Dustin, man. He cut. Wow.
Dude, 21, he's flying all over the ring in this match.
Not only that, Steve's bumping for him too.
I mean, they're pulling out all the stops. They're both trying to prove their salt, you know. When Flair left, there were a lot of guys who felt like, hey, this is an opportunity. Because on top right now is Lex Luger and Ron Simmons. And just 2 years prior, nobody would have guessed that.
Right.
So this does represent opportunity. Good for them. So over the weekend, WWE did the Evolution pay-per-view, the all ladies pay-per-view. Did you have a chance to catch that?
I did not. I'm going to go wait and, you know, watch the replay and just watch I want to see the Charlotte match with Becky Lynch, last woman standing. I want to see what happens to the Bellas at the hands of Ronda. And after that, I'm not really interested in all the other matches. So I just want to wait. So Steve walks out with the belt because of the time limit draw. Hell of a match, man. And now it's time to talk about, Conrad, the Lethal Lottery. Yes, we've taken the premier pay-per-view in WCW and turned it into a pile of shit. It's Battle Bowl, the Lethal Lottery, September of 91. It's an event that we've already covered in the archives. It's going to be from Norfolk, Virginia, and only on pay-per-view. And of course, if you recall, you said that you being 10 years old back then, you really enjoyed that Lethal Lottery. But
I love the concept, but it's a miss in execution.
Right. Which was oh my God.
He'll go on to be Kevin Nash, one of the most important figures in WCW history, but they didn't know what they had here. Master Blaster, Vinny Vegas, and now fucking Oz is what we're seeing him as. At least he's not wearing the silly mask, which I believe wound up in Japan in some sort of sports bar, but he is still sporting the Oz cape, which you've worn recently.
Right. I wore it because it's at your home.
It is indeed at the Conradison.
It's at the Conradison. I had a chance to put it on, and you took a picture, and it was put on social media. Oh, and he's going to face the world's strongest man
from Auburn, Alabama. How about that? There's so much Alabama talent here. I'm being serious. You got Bobby Eaton. You got Bill Kazmaier. Yeah. I'm going to count the Armstrongs as being from Alabama. It's close enough. And believe it or not, when Kevin Nash was in the military, he was stationed here in Alabama. So how about that shit?
Well, since Bill was from Auburn, Alabama, I'm not so sure if there's any more talent in Auburn, Alabama here in 2018.
It's worth mentioning. I actually got to meet Bill Kazmaier as a kid at an appearance. This is real.
Okay, go ahead.
At a mobile home lot where they sell mobile homes, a mobile home dealer promoted WCW's World's Strongest Man. So of course I wanted to go, and I had to ask my parents, what's a mobile home? And they had to explain, you know, it's where Shivani lives. I was like, oh, okay, got it. And, they set these ramps up like you would drive your car on or whatever. Yeah. And they ran the motherfucker over right in front of me. It was awesome.
Well, wait a minute. Ran who over?
Bill Kazmaier. He laid down and they put a ramp on one side and a ramp on another for each tire. And they ran over his chest with like an 18-wheeler, which I thought that can't be real. I mean, clearly they worked it somehow, but as a kid, I'm like, holy shit. And then he pulled another 18-wheeler with his teeth. And I was like, okay, he's a badass. And then I saw this match and I was like, nah, I hope they never make a Bill Kazmaier figure.
He pulled an 18-wheeler with his teeth.
He did.
Are you sure that are you sure that you're not bullshitting me?
Why would I make that? What would be my motivation to put over Bill fucking Kazmaier right now?
There would be no, but pull an 18-wheeler with his fucking teeth.
Yeah. No, listen, I'm telling you, they probably worked it.
Okay. How do you work pulling an 18-wheeler with the teeth?
You put it in neutral and put a midget in there and let him press the gas. That's what I would do. Sorry, a little person.
Right.
I don't, you know.
So Hornswoggle was a part of this, right?
Hornswoggle was in the cab.
Right.
By the way, have you ever heard Bruce Pritchard do an impression of any little person?
No.
I don't know why, but he makes them sound like a movie character, like over the top, like Oompa Loompa.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Just everybody, like he does this story about when Bobby Heenan said he saw a lumberjack and a midget. Those are Bobby's words. And he says, hey, Bobby. And he does this over the top. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? They didn't sound like that. He's like, you don't know. You weren't there.
Well, we've all talked to Swoggle, so he kind of sounds like that.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
Hey, did I tell you what I did over the, by the way, you're missing a giant piece of shit match here with Oz and Bill Kazmaier.
Yeah.
And Oz is greener than goose shit, but he's 7 foot tall.
Right.
And he just dropped him on his fucking head.
Oh, he did. He did. So anyway, what were you getting to before he got dropped on his noggin there?
So when I was on my honeymoon,
whoa.
What?
You going to tell us about your honeymoon?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm getting drunk in the pool every day. That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah. And, eventually I would just be like, hey, look what I found. And I found this website called Cameo. Are you in the loop on this?
No. Oh, yes, I am. It's where celebrities will send you messages.
Yes.
Right.
So they'll tape like a personal video shout out from their phone. And I found it and I sent nearly all of my friends a cameo that they did not expect. Like I was buying one after another because I thought it was hilarious, because they ask like, hey, what do you want us to say?
Right.
It's unbelievable.
You didn't send me one.
No, I sent it to the people who cared enough to come to my wedding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, my real friends, people who haven't Shivani'd on our friendship.
Again, I put that Fort Payne softball right up on a tee.
One of them was from Bret the Hitman Hart. And he sent a message to Dave Silva.
Really?
Yeah. Another was, the rapper Riff Raff. And he sent one to Cassio Kid. Another was Zeus, Tony Tiny Lister. And he sent one to, my buddy Rotten Crotch. It's great. I can just keep going, but my favorite is probably when I had, TV's John Taffer from Bar Rescue or Andy Dick send horrible mean messages to Matt Coon. I had Andy Milonakis cut a promo on Jay-Z. It's great stuff, man. Just one after another.
Wow. They kind of copying us, you think? Cameo is?
I'm on there right now and I'm going to order 2 more like right now. Cause I just saw that they've got Jeremy Piven and I want him to just go Ari on somebody. Oh, Chuck Liddell's on here. We got to get you on there. I think it would be fun. Maybe we need a wrestling version. Call it Slameo. Just rip it off and do it with wrestling.
What the fuck was that guy with the jackhammer doing in the graveyard?
Well, here's what they're doing. They want noises for Van Hammer. They're trying to get Van Hammer over. So they've got 2 guys with jackhammers and they've just got bricks up there so you can hear them run a jackhammer. And somebody didn't think through that all the way. By the way, Van Hammer's out and the crowd goes mild. He's got a V-shaped guitar and he spins it around his neck like a fucking goof, does some head banging. And, his big line that he had been planning on the way to the ring was to look at the camera and say, "It's the Rock of Ages." And literally no one is reacting to him at all. And here's old man Doug Summers, who once had a bloodbath in the AWA with the Midnight Rockers. And he's waiting on a huge reaction when he takes his shirt off, Mr. Van Hammer is. And of course, nobody cares. But yeah, nobody thought through the whole jackhammer on the stage gimmick, because what they did is they just brought concrete cinder blocks and we're going to let them jackhammer it. But the trouble is, the minute it hits once, it's broken. There's nothing else to jackhammer. You needed like a slab of concrete they could chip away at, not something that was just be like, no, it broke. Cause you couldn't ever get the full sound effect of a jackhammer, but you can with our friends at Blue Chew. You'll be jackhammering all night long. Isn't that right, Tony? You told me that you need a new headboard at your house.
Okay.
You said you cut a promo on that thing. You said, I stomped a mud hole in it and I walked it dry.
Big Josh. Look.
Big Josh.
Big Josh. Look at this. Is this not one of the worst fucking job matches you've ever seen? Look at this.
Yeah, it is horrible. And let me tell you exactly what Meltzer says. He says, Hammer only missed 3 of the 5 moves he tried. -1 star.
And here is his slingshot suplex. And watch Doug Summers kick out on 3. 1, 2, 3, kick. Doug Summers says, fuck this guy. I'm kicking on 3. And that was one of the big no-nos in wrestling back then. If you had a star and you were going to do a job and you kicked out right at 3, fuck, they'd fire your ass in a minute. They probably fired Doug right there. So we have a job match. And we have, he was fucking.
Serious business. Let me ask this.
He was fucking horrendous.
Was Van Hammer the original Goldberg for you guys?
Oh, for crying out loud, no. Goldberg had something. Van Hammer had nothing.
Well, I mean, you guys gave him this gimmick. What I'm saying is, what if you had given Van Hammer Goldberg's gimmick and you had given Goldberg Van Hammer's gimmick?
Oh, you think it was the gimmick?
Oh, this gimmick is the shits. You think somebody could have got this over? This is one step better than the goddamn Candyman.
So you're saying that
I'm saying that Van Hammer may not have kicked Bret Hart's head into the 5th row.
Yeah, well, that could have been right.
Might not have tried to choke out Evan Courageous for no reason before Nitro.
Which wasn't a bad move if you think about it now, back hindsight being what it is.
Might not have punched out a limo and damn near killed himself.
All right.
Might not have tried to pick a fight with Chris Jericho.
Take a look at Ricky Morton's mullet, would you? Wow.
Bigger mullet. Michael Hayes, Ricky Morton.
I don't know if there's any mullet bigger than that. Oh my God.
You know, he's got shirts that, he sells called the Mullet Club instead of the Bullet Club.
Does he really?
Isn't that great?
That is tremendous. No need trying when you're flying Brian. Look at some of the beautiful women from Tennessee, which, by the way, is not too far from Huntsville.
No, it's under 2 hours door to door for me.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of Chattanooga. I'll tell you, Chattanooga to me is like the Huntsville of Tennessee. Like it's a similar size. There's a lot of people sleep on it, but like Gary Vaynerchuk has offices in New York City and Chattanooga because there's so much technology that they develop their downtown, and they're trying to change their perception. I mean, they got Google Fiber before anybody in the South. I mean, it's a sleeper town. Everybody wants to talk about Nashville or Memphis or Knoxville. Chattanooga, underrated town.
Telling me that Chattanooga got Google Fiber before any other town in the South.
Yeah. I mean,
before Atlanta?
I believe so. Yeah.
Wow.
Chattanooga's downtown is legit, dude. Like they've tried to like reinvent it. They do all the silly stuff. Like, they got Lookout Mountain and they got Ruby Falls. And I mean, they've got all that stuff, but like their little transit system downtown and all that, they've really tried to do some cool stuff.
How silly does this reefer eye camera look on the head of the referee?
It's awful. I mean, I feel like they should just put a leash on him and then it's a Saturday Night Live skit.
He looks like a hockey player. Oh, God.
By the way, there's so much talent here. It's easy to shit on this era of WCW because of some of the decisions. Let's run through the talent real fast.
All right.
In the first match, Sting, Rick and Scott Steiner, Cactus Jack, Abdullah the Butcher, Big Van Vader, what would be Scott Hall. And the next match, what would be Doink. And the next match, Bobby Eaton. And the next match, Johnny B. Bad and the Freebirds. And the next match, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Goldust. And the next match, Diesel, aka Kevin Nash. 2 matches later, Brian Pillman and Ricky Morton. And still to come, Rick Rude, Arn Anderson, Lex Luger, Ron Simmons. There's so much talent on this card, but because it does feel like there's not that next level star. Like Sting was a big star, but he wasn't Hulk Hogan. He wasn't Ric Flair. He wasn't the Macho Man. And they were hoping that, and they did it. They got Ravishing Rick Rude over, but he still was not perceived at that next level superstar, at least in my mind. Would you agree?
Yeah, he was not. And it's an old thing that I've said so many times. We could not make big stars, with the exception of maybe Ric Flair. We could not make the top tier stars, but you're right. It obviously, to become the big company, you've got to have more than just great talent. Great guys who can work in the ring and do great matches and do a lot of things. I'm telling you, and we had a lot of fun recently during this match, but if you go back again with everybody watching this one, if they want to watch this show again, take a look at Stunning Steve and Dustin Rhodes. Fuck, how is that not a 4-star match?
Well, and this is a great match here too. I mean, it is a broken record, but I mean, this is a really good match. And don't get me wrong. We just saw Bill Kazmaier and Oz. We just saw Van Hammer and Doug Summers. There's some turds in here, but this is a good match too. I mean, you've got, and it may have been better. Sometimes I'm sure on paper things make sense. Like you're like, oh, Bill Kazmaier, the world's strongest man. He's a big jacked up dude. And you could put him in there with Oz. He's a big jacked up dude. They both should have probably had matches with these 2 guys. That would have made it a better match. Like if it was Oz and Ricky Morton and Kaz and Brian Pillman, maybe that's matched up a little more evenly to where you've got a guy who can, do big power moves and another guy who can put it over, who can sell, who can really sell the match. The match only gets 1 star here. He says, Pillman must not have recovered from his injuries. This is his first match back after missing a few weeks with a torn latimus muscle. And this match should have been a fast-paced, high-flying signature match to establish a division similar to the great match that Pillman had with Brad Armstrong at the Clash, but it wasn't at all. And it was the biggest disappointment on the show. Pillman's going to win with a flying body press off the top rope, and they're going to get a lot of time, 12 minutes and 44 seconds. Meltzer only gave it 1 star.
Wow. That for a Brian Pillman match and a Ricky, if you talk about the work rate for both these guys, that's kind of eye-popping. I go back to this. Even though we have this abundance of talent, tell me a great storyline in this show. Again, I always think that something I brought up before, go back in the archives and listen to it. I thought we always dropped the ball on storylines. Pay-per-view should be the culmination of a great storyline. What have we had? I don't know. I mean, we had a job match. We had Van Hammer against Doug Summers. We had Vinny Vegas, or Oz, if you will, against Bill Kazmaier. There were no stories there.
Right.
So I think that's what this pay-per-view lacked. A storyline. They just threw all these guys in this Chamber of Horrors match. There was no storyline there. They were just all these freaky guys. So we just, I always thought we did it wrong. Again, I go back to it, and I was in the WWF only 2 years prior to this, and every pay-per-view match meant something, had a story. Even the opening match had a story, had an angle. These had none. So there, I mean, you can have all the great work rate, but if, there's no reason to bring people the exception of, oh, you're going to see, I mean, we had the creatures come in for crying out loud. You're going to see a great match. That didn't always sell tickets. The one-on-one, the personal issues, the storyline sold matches. Sometimes we got caught up in, oh, they're going to give us 15 minutes of an ass-kicking match. Well, good. But what does it really mean? If you're really mad at this, let's say that Richard Morton is the heel here, which he is. If you're really pissed off at him because something he's did to Flying Brian, then when Flying Brian mounts a comeback, you really are into it. It goes back to Hollywood. It goes back to storylines. If that is a shit heel that you really want to see him get it in the end, it makes the match mean a whole lot more. And, we lost that back during this time. And I really think that professional wrestling has lost that here in 2018. Nobody's a shit heel anymore. Nobody stands out anymore.
MJF is a shit heel.
Well, I'm not talking about real life. I'm talking about in the wrestling ring.
I love you for that.
And he has a little prick shit heel. You know that, don't you?
I mean, that's what I hear.
Yeah, little motherfucking 22-year-old prick. Saying shit about me on Twitter.
What's he saying?
I'm better than you and you know it.
Well, I mean, that's not.
Well, what?
It's not wrong. He still has an opportunity to be, a big deal. And,
really?
And you've already Shivani'd.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
Hey, look, motherfucker, I'm back in this business more than ever. Thanks to you, promoter of the year. So don't say I've Shivani'd. Man, I'm back. I am motherfucking back. Back. I'm here. Here I am, man. I'm going nowhere. I'm fucking back. I'm part of Conrad's posse. It's me, Dave Hancock, Dave Silva, Rotten Crotch. It's Bruce Pritchard. It's Eric Bischoff. It's me. It's
Casio Kid.
That's Casio Kid.
Big Booty Judy.
Yeah, Big Booty Judy. And who was that crazy motherfucker that we hung out with in Vegas? Robert Taylor.
No, he ain't in the group. No,
he's not.
Mark Nielsen is though, and
okay.
Yeah, there's Jeff Jewett. And there's a fun crew, man. Scott from Jacksonville, who probably wants us to kayfabe his last name.
Right. And even Matt Coon at times.
And occasionally Jay-Z and Super Dave.
Yeah, occasionally. Yeah.
But if you're choking to death, they're really no help. It's just me. It's
help at all.
If you start choking, it's just me.
Yeah. And then there's K-Dog. And I'm part of the group, man. I'm part of the fucking group. I'm fucking back. Okay. When I hang out with these guys, it's not, oh boy, here's big star Tony Schiavone hanging out with us. No, he's one of us now.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So there you go.
Hey, by the way, I ran into Jimmy Hart over the weekend.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that you went down to the NWO thing in Orlando, right?
Yeah. So, if Hogan was there, Jimmy couldn't be far. Right.
Exactly.
Well, right. He told me about a tiki bar.
Yeah. And what did he say about his tiki bar? Come on down to see us, baby. Beans and taters.
Well, here you go.
Hey, it's me, the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Hey, if you're ever in Daytona Beach, you got to check out Jimmy Hart's Hall of Fame bar and Tiki Deck, baby. That's the one that Bruce Pritchard talked about. That's the one that Eric Bischoff talked about. That's the one that Conrad talked about. That's the one that Tony Schiavone's been begging me to come up and do a podcast from, which I will let him into it. So if you're in Daytona, check it out, baby.
So I pushed it out on Twitter and I said, since it's Sunday, I feel like I should remind everybody that Jimmy Hart's world famous bar and Tiki Deck has the NFL Sunday ticket, baby. You can even watch the Evolution pay-per-view right there tonight, darling. It's right on the water at Daytona Beach, baby. And I don't know that he knows that we're having fun with it, but everybody else does. And it got lots of likes and retweets from Scott Hall and Dolph Ziggler and Vince Russo and everybody in the middle who's like, This is fucking hilarious with the babies and the darlings.
Oh, that's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
So are we going to do a show from there?
No. You told me last week you were worried you get fucked in the ass. I don't want you to get fucked in the ass.
Are we going to start that again?
I did not mention that to Jimmy either.
Okay. We're going to.
He was like, hey baby, are you and Tony still going to come do a podcast down here, baby? I got them beans and taters warmed up for you, baby. I got all the TVs. I got all the games. I got all the beer now. I ain't got draft. I got cans because you can't have glass on the beach, baby. And I'm right on the water, baby. You know what I'm talking about? It's just 45 minutes from here. Why don't you jump in the Jimmy Hart mobile? We'll cruise on down the beach, baby. I'll get you some of them beans and taters. And I was like, no, I don't know. We probably need to circle up with Tony on that, but probably not today. Cause I'm like, I don't have the heart to tell him, hey man, Tony can't come now.
That was the most response I saw to our podcast from last week on social media.
You know, what's funny is, Efren, who has a lot of experience in that area.
Oh my God.
He went out of his way to send me a DM and just said, hey, just as an FYI, I, like you, have never worried about that. Why are you laughing? I mean,
just the way you looked at me after you said that.
Well, I mean, I don't think we worry or don't worry for similar reasons, but still, we ain't got no worries and we got that in common.
Hey, Efren, we love you, buddy. Really.
He has quietly become he's like the low key Bad Money Slim. Bad Money Slim is like so over the top with the super fandom that nobody can compete. But if you're really paying attention and you're reading the tea leaves, everyone's working his way up. I feel like we need like a whack pack, Howard Stern has. Right. I don't know who would be our Beetlejuice. Who would be our Beetlejuice?
Wow. That's a good question. But we got to have our own whack pack. Who would be our Beetlejuice? I don't know.
By the way, can I tell you that I discovered, I can't believe this is real, over the weekend, Beetlejuice lives in Georgia.
No.
Columbus, Georgia. And Jeff Jones and I, we are determined to work with Shuley, and we're going to find Beetlejuice, and we're getting him on a live show at some point. By the way, there's your finish. Crossbody off the top and, Nick Patrick in a helmet announces and raises the hand of Brian Pillman, who is the new light heavyweight champion. And that is a brand new belt. You can tell that leather is not broken yet at all. Here's the replay. Give us a call here, Tony.
From the top, flying Brian with a crossbody on Mr. Richard Morton. Hooks the far leg. There's a 1, 2, 3 from the reefer eye. And your winner in the new light heavyweight champion of the world, Flying Brian Pillman. And that was the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone, with the 1, 2, 3.
Serious business. How cool were Brian Pillman's tights? Just the old Bengal tiger print, like the Cincinnati Bengals helmets. It was a cool pair of tights.
Everything about him was cool, man.
And now you're getting to work with his son, and his son, while he may not be the most experienced wrestler, just really getting his wrestling career kicked off, he certainly has a presence about him. Is that fair to say?
He does. He looks so much and even sounds like his dad. Absolutely. I enjoy working with him. I really do. Like I enjoyed working with JR there, man. Jim was always so smooth about always smiling at the end of every on camera.
We should mention here that they've been hyping up all day. So even when you saw that first on camera with Eric Bischoff dressed as Dracula, he and Missy were talking about and debating who was the Phantom of WCW. And they've been teasing that there's going to be a great reveal. And here's the Z-Man, your favorite wrestler, who we unfortunately lost a year ago. And he's going to be taking on, unfortunately, another gentleman who's no longer with us, but he's going to come out under a hood as the Phantom. And it's funny because I haven't watched this show and I couldn't tell you when, and my dad was over earlier, and I was watching this show just to do a little bit of prep, and Dad remembered that I got to meet the Z-Man as a kid when he took me to Montgomery to see a set of television tapings. And he remembered, he's like, what was that guy's name? Z something. But then when this guy comes out, Dad says, oh, what is this silly shit? Because the Phantom is out here, which means he's got on a black and white mask. He's got on a hat. He's dressed in all black, and he's got a cape, and he's hiding his entire face with this black satin cape. And he takes it off and it goes on the attack. And as soon as he threw the first forearm, after Dad said, well, what is this silly shit? And when he threw the first forearm, I said, oh, that's Rick Rude. And he said, how can you tell? I said, I've seen enough Rick Rude matches. I know Rick Rude when I see him. And of course my dad wanted to debate that. He's like, I don't know. How can you be sure? How can you tell?
You were a smart motherfucker even a long time ago, weren't you?
No, this was earlier today. It was just
today. Okay. Oh, I got you.
You can just tell certain guys have certain signature moves and just the way they move their body. Like you can tell now, of course, now you get a tight shot of the face. You can really see the Rick Rude mustache and it's a little more apparent, but not just the build, but I mean, look how jacked his upper body is. And as Ric Flair would say, them skinny little legs. But that elbow drop, that's a Rick Rude move. The forearm in the corner. Like when Bret Hart throws a punch, he picks up both of his feet and jumps with it. So you just know a Bret Hart signature punch. And so you could tell with Rick Rude there. I mean, you're curious at times. Two of the best looking men in wrestling right here ever, Rude and Zink.
Yeah. And then of course the Rude Awakening.
I mean, yeah, that's the telltale right there. And we're done quick, fast, and in a hurry. It only gets 1 star, 1 minute and 26 seconds. Meltzer would write, it was good to establish Rude in this fashion, but anyone who has ever studied logical booking 101 would know that you don't destroy a babyface in this manner on a major show when he's in the main event challenging for the world title at several house shows over the next few weeks. It renders Tom Zink versus Lex Luger as a negative draw main event. But I guess it's only fair, at least now it's no longer any more or less attractive than Luger versus Kazmaier. What was done in this match was fine, he said.
Yeah. Well, it goes another Battle Bowl promo here. It goes back to what I was talking about. We just had job matches during a fucking pay-per-view. It blew my mind.
Well, and here's the thing too, like you got people on such a high with that first spectacle, as you said, with the electrocution. I mean, you electrocuted a guy.
Right.
And now you've got 1 minute matches with Bill Kazmaier winning with a half-ass rack and, a 1 minute match here with Rick Rude. You probably, seriously, why not just put Doug Summers out there with Rick Rude and let him run through it? And then we could have just let Van Hammer sell popcorn where he belonged.
Exactly. That's why you're promoter of the year, buddy.
Now, this right here looks like they just stepped right out of a club that Efren has been to before.
What?
I mean, seriously, the Patriots here, what a shitty gimmick this is. They look like, I don't even know. How would you describe this?
No.
What a terrible this is peak WCW when it was bad. Chip the Firebreaker and Todd Champion.
This was, and this whole night, if you think about it, in many ways, was Dusty's answer to the never-ending shit that Jim Herd wanted him to do. I want characters. But you got to have characters to mean something. And so he gave me characters. And speaking of characters, here they are. Flapjack Wino on the left, Cigar Store Indian on the right. The World Tag Team Champions.
That's a different set of blue tag team titles than the ones that we've seen in prior years in Crockett. I managed to snag one of those, but I've since flipped it, but it now resides in a collector's home in South Carolina.
Is that what you call flipping it?
Yeah. A friend in South Carolina said, "Hey man, if you ever wanted to sell that, I would offer you X." And I said, "Well, take it home with you."
They had a lot of matches. These four guys did, and you would think that because of it, that Champion and Chip the Firebreaker would learn how to work, but it never really happened.
You know, the thing with them is it just felt like it was sort of put together, you know, or thrown together rather.
It was.
I don't think those guys couldn't be contributors. I just think these gimmicks are just terrible. Like if they could come up with anything else, like I don't want to see two firefighters as wrestlers. I mean,
yeah, granted.
I know they're not firefighters. I know one is, and one is a war hero, but it's just, to me, that feels very WWF. And I understand that you guys at certain points think that, well, that's what we need. So we need these characters like Oz. If they've got a dead motherfucker, we can have Oz. I understand, but that's really not what made you guys popular and put you on the map to begin with. It was guys like the Steiner brothers and, the Horsemen. These guys could be fine wrestlers without the silly gimmicks. The gimmicks just are a turnoff.
So you're saying that you thought that we were trying to be too much like them and we should have been completely different.
Yeah. I mean, to me, if you don't have the budget or the back office or the support with creative services and the little details, then don't do anything. Like that electric cage bullshit. That seems like something Vince could have tried to pull off, when he was, in some of his, but here's the thing. That fucking switch wouldn't have been falling all night on its own. They would have checked to make sure it was right. And so you guys are just like, oh, well, we'll just do this. But then nobody has any attention to detail to make sure that it's carried off. So you come off as a cheap carbon or a cheap imitation, more so than a carbon copy. And, to me, the answer was just to be different. And Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko can get in here and have a real wrestling match with a couple of other real wrestlers. They don't have to have the silly gimmicks.
Right. Yeah. It's one of the main reasons that we didn't survive and wouldn't survive. I don't think there's any question about that.
And this is weird, but like in that gimmick match we had up front, like the Steiner brothers couldn't even really wrestle in that. Yes, I understand their big star power. I get it. But you could have thrown in, like on the heel side, you threw in Diamond Stud. You're trying to establish him. Why not throw in on the babyface side, Firebreaker Chip here and, throw these guys in and now let the Steiners work with Arn and Zbyszko. Now we can have 20 minutes of a real wrestling match and showcase what these guys can really do instead of let's have the Steiners run around and brawl with each other. These guys didn't have to be spectacular wrestlers in order to be in a featured spot and help get over. They'd get the rub from Sting and all they got to do is throw punches. But now we've got two great wrestlers, but we're just going to have them throw punches. And we're going to ask two guys who maybe aren't the world's best wrestlers to get in there with Arn and Larry. Because
the hierarchy of WCW wouldn't allow that to happen.
Oh, you got to have the Steiners in the big match.
That's right.
That's the thing is it's like sometimes on paper, like I get that, like, probably somebody somewhere thought, oh man, the Giant and Big Show or the Giant and Kevin Nash, that'll be huge. That'll be great. I mean, the irresistible force meets the immovable object, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. I get it. But both of those guys have better matches with little dudes. Like, right. Brett and Diesel were great matches. Brett and, or Sean and Diesel were good matches. Big Show and any little dude, great match. They can beel them around. And I mean, you can really have spectacular bumps and tell a fun Goliath story. But if it's two giants, well, fuck, now they can't really even do the big moves to each other.
Right.
Look at this shit right here. This is my favorite spot. Todd had no idea.
No.
What Arn was doing there, and Arn had to wait, and we got a good shot at it. And
right. Yeah. Todd was always lost from the word go, and he was always blown up too from the word go.
But again, I understand why he got the spot. He looks good. Put him in a brawling match. Don't
Yeah.
put him on pay-per-view and give him time with Arn Anderson.
Right.
But in fairness, if the decision is made to do that, Arn's the guy you want to carry him, right?
Yeah, sure.
They're going to get 9 minutes and 51 seconds. They get a star and a half. Meltzer would write, the Patriots have a lot of negative charisma. Everyone tried, but Todd has the knack of never being in the right place at the right time. The enforcers were pretty much faces here. And I think it's because this Chattanooga crowd is really more of a Crockett style crowd, right?
Yeah, of course they are. And not only that, but you look at the guys who've had the most TV time too. Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko. The guys who can talk. Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko. And now the Cigar Store Indian's going to come in as well. So he said that that's an interesting term, negative charisma, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you're right. He always looked lost. See? He looks lost there. In the midst of hooking up with Larry, he wants the fans to get behind him. Oh, and I guess some of them are.
But like, you know, let's put Sting in there with fucking Van Hammer and the Patriots, whatever.
Yeah.
And then let's get the Steiners in a real match in here.
Yeah. You ever thought about doing any booking?
Oh shit. No.
Well, you're doing some pretty good stuff right now.
No.
But again, look, you know as well as I do, it's easy to book, 27 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. No, listen, I'm not a creative mind in that regard. I'm having fun with podcasting, but the idea that to be so arrogant as to think that I could, be a booker. No way.
But yeah, I'm just fucking around with you as best I can. But I just know
as a fan, I can sometimes see the appeal of, hey man, we got to have this match with all these gimmicks and blah, blah, blah. But I know, look at the crowd, man. They've been dead the entire time because you started so hot. Like, how can we get excited about this? We saw a motherfucker die.
Yeah, that's right.
Y'all electrocuted a motherfucker. And now you're trying to get me excited about arm drags.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
That had to be last. And if it can't be last, then just don't fucking do it.
Right.
Because all you've done is killed it. Like Van Hammer came out to no reception, but so did everyone else. And we made fun of, the crowd goes mild, but you go back and you watch this and man, they're dead the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean,
there was a big debate about where we're going to put that cage. And the original thought with Dusty was to put it last. But after a lot of discussion, there was no way to do that.
Logistically, I understand why that would be the case. Right. But I have seen you guys lower, in fairness, I have seen you lower the War Games cage.
Right.
And you lowered that chair. So why would you not just lower it all together?
Yeah. I don't have an answer for that.
But I understand. And the only way you could have done something different really too is here on pay-per-view. I mean, for the live crowd, you could have just done some sort of intermission and have some guys do some meet and greets. And then on pay-per-view, cut to a tape of some sort of taped thing, a match that happened out back or what happened last night, or here's an exclusive thing from Japan, whatever.
Yeah. Right.
But you could have had a 10-minute thing to give everybody time to get this thing set up and, come back to some interviews in the back. And then what do you know? We're ready. But it's just really hard to legitimately get a crowd to get excited about body slams and arm drags. You electrocuted a motherfucker. People were bleeding in the first match. And it's like, when that happens, where do we go now? We're hitting people with shit and putting people through coffins and breaking sticks and, but scoop slam, that'll get them excited.
That's right. Especially a scoop slam or an arm drag or a side headlock with two guys who had no angle, who had no reason to be in the match except they were just wanted to try to showcase some talent. So yeah, this show was, after the first 10 minutes, 12 minutes, this show was fucked, wasn't it?
But in fairness, the mood has to be, and you were there, if you're up against a big football game and you're up against Game 7 of the World Series, and you know, the other guys right now are doing Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. So your top guy's gone just a few months prior, and now he's with the top draw in the business. And you're 2 hours away from the Braves, who are in Game 7 of the World Series. Like, there has to be some sort of feeling of, well, we're fucked anyway. Let's just get through tonight.
No, I don't know if that's the case. I really don't know if that's the case. I think you always try to. I don't think you never say, let's just try to get through the night. I think you say, let's give it our best shot. Now, I know you would say, would that be something that Tony Schiavone would say? Let's give it your best shot, try our best. But yeah, I think you do.
But you're also the guy who said that from the moment you came back, you thought they could close at any time.
Yes, I did. I really thought that. So none of this shit surprised me.
Let me ask you this. You know, it's clear that JR is the lead commentator here, and you guys were both historically play-by-play guys. Is that fair to say?
That's right.
So when he's essentially taking the driver's seat here,
yeah,
I would imagine behind the scenes, just knowing what I know about JR, that he would sort of bulldog his way into that spot. And I think that you would probably say, well, shit, if he wants to have it, let him have it. I'll do my best to support him. I'm making the same either way. If it's that big of a deal to him, he can do it. Is that how it goes down?
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right.
Look at this silly shit. Who would think when you look at this, Eric Bischoff dressed up like fucking Dracula, right, with the wire pack in plain sight, not even behind him, just right on his hip.
Right.
Who would have ever guessed this is the motherfucker who's going to get Hulk Hogan? This is the guy who's going to create Goldberg and the NWO and Nitro and kick Vince's ass for 83 weeks. When you see this,
yeah,
the odds of that happening, when you watch this and you said, okay, pick a guy who you've seen on camera tonight, who's going to take it to Vince 83 weeks in a row and create an angle that doesn't just turn WCW's business around, creates dozens of millionaires and at least one billionaire with one big idea, and turns a profit for the first time in WCW history. Maybe the most profit in the single year of a wrestling company ever. Would anybody have ever picked this son of a bitch?
Oh, a million miles away.
No, you'd say, oh, it's JR.
Right.
Or,
exactly.
you know, you'd say, oh, it's
Paul Lee.
Yeah, it's going to be JR, or it's going to be Paul Lee. Paul Lee will rein it in. He's got the passion. He's young enough. You'd say it's JR, it's Paul Lee. Maybe it's Dusty. It fucking ain't Dracula. I tell you who it ain't. It ain't Dracula.
But it was.
What's funny to me too, that is sort of not talked about, is, you know, you were given an opportunity to interview for that same job.
Right. Yeah.
It's wild to think that you could have been in the Eric Bischoff spot.
No, I wouldn't have been.
Do you think that
I would have completely fucked it up?
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think there would have been would Nitro have happened?
No.
Would Hogan have come in?
No.
Would the NWO have existed?
No.
What about Goldberg?
We'd have been out of business long time before.
Now, are you saying that just because you're trying to be self-deprecating, or are you being serious?
No, I'm being serious because, I do not have the confidence. I don't. You know me quite well.
Yeah.
I really don't have the confidence to run a company. I don't believe in myself enough to run Eric Bischoff believed in himself. He came out with a plan. He believed it would work. JR always believed in himself. I mean, to me, JR, I always talk about this a lot as we're getting ready to see Rick Rude be unmasked. I always talk about this a lot. JR's confidence was mind-boggling. He could go into a room of Turner executives, and he was in charge of the whole fucking room because of his confidence. I never had that. It's just like we said moments ago. JR was bulldogged his way into doing this, and I was okay. That's fine. I never had the confidence to do that. So no.
So here's the big reveal. The Phantom of WCW, Rick Rude, they reveal that he's here, and Medusa's by his side, as is Paul Lee. So Paulie's not only coming back, he's coming back and he's getting to manage one of the most dynamic performers in the history of the business. Certainly, you know, I'm not going to say Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior level tippy top WWF guy, but certainly the rung right below that. And all the fans here recognize him, and him being fresh off of the superior product, the superior TV, as they say. He right now, at this moment, he's the biggest star in WCW, isn't he?
Right now?
Yes.
Right. Yes, right now.
And so Paul Heyman's not only back, he's back with the biggest star. And this is going to, of course, eventually become the Dangerous Alliance. And we're seeing the seeds here. And we've talked about this before. It's fun to sort of look at all the talent that was there. And if there hadn't been a Four Horsemen, if the Horsemen never existed, would people talk about the Dangerous Alliance the way they do the Horsemen? Maybe not. But
yeah.
As far as the big faction, they would have been given the credit as sort of being the pioneering big faction. I mean, you got Steve Austin, you got Arn Anderson, you got Ravishing Rick Rude. Sure, there's no Flair, but there is an Austin. There is a Rude. It's a big deal.
Yeah. You know, another story about this. I don't know if this is the case with JR or not, but do you know, I had no idea who the Phantom was going to be.
Really?
Yeah. They made a very big deal out of keeping it a secret in the back.
Well, I mean, you knew when he started wrestling, you could tell, oh, that's Rick Rude.
Right. But prior to that, I didn't know. When he came out, we knew, but prior to that, I didn't know.
Bobby Eaton was, you know, let's sort of compare the Dangerous Alliance to the Horsemen. Who would be, so Arn is still Arn. Who is Bobby Eaton compared to the Horsemen? Like, what role would he have been in?
Tully Blanchard.
So what would that make Steve Austin? Cause they positioned Rick Rude to be Ric Flair.
All right.
So if Flair and Rude is to Flair and Arn is Arn, if Bobby is Tully, what does that make? I mean, I think Larry's got to be Ole.
Right.
Because he's teaming with Arn. So the odd man out is Steve Austin. Who is he in that scenario? Barry Windham?
Barry Windham. Or yeah, he'd have to be. You wouldn't say he was Lex Luger when Luger was a part of him.
Well, I'll tell you this. I liked Larry better than Ole. That Bobby Tully thing's tough. I'd probably still like Tully better than Bobby.
Yeah.
And I liked Flair better than Rude.
Right.
But man, I liked Austin better than I did Windham.
Right.
It's just fun to compare those two factions to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'll tell you this, I like Dangerously a lot better than JJ.
As a mouthpiece?
Absolutely. Now, don't get me wrong. As a presence, you know, the way it fit the group, you didn't have to have a strong promo out of JJ with the Horsemen. You had, you know, Arn and Tully and Rick, three of the greatest talkers of all time. But Paul Heyman's in that short list of greatest promos ever.
Right. Hey, 4-time All-American, Florida State University.
This is a tremendous package. This is one of the best things on the show, that they managed to get an interview with Bobby Bowden, and they're showing, you know, all the Florida State facilities, even when they've got the jersey hung up there, and seeing Ron run all the drills and just run the stadium steps. It really adds an air of legitimacy to the world title, because I think sometimes wrestling can be presented a little cartoonish, but like, even when you fast forward, and I know you weren't watching then, when they built a Brock Lesnar Rock at SummerSlam, they did packages like this where they showed the Rock training at the University of Miami. And it was, I mean, basically a carbon copy of what we're seeing right here, but you're just showing, you know, that, hey, these guys are real legitimate athletes. Here they are in the weight room, and here they are, you know, in their old college campgrounds. And that's what, in fairness, this is the way boxing is sold, right? Like, you see training videos of training camp, and, you know, they're working the speed bag and hitting the pads and the mitts and the whole deal. So to present it that way gives it a bit of a big fight feel. And I thought it really added a lot to the presentation, and it made where Ron Simmons may not have been a huge promo and a huge presence. We believe that he's a legitimate badass at this point.
That's because the kid really was.
No, for sure. He's unfuckwithable. We've talked about that on the show. I'm just saying it introduces that, because you have to remember, we're not too far removed from him being part of a tag team where he's under a hood and he's a bad guy. And, you know, we don't really know him, but he's this nameless, faceless, ass kicking tag team champion. We've got to give him a backstory. And I thought they did a really good job with that. And they're letting the fans know, hey, he's a good guy. Look, he's here with Dusty Rhodes.
Right. I had heard back then that Dusty took a lot of heat for coming out with Ron Simmons.
You know, I've heard that too, and I think it's bullshit. And I'll tell you why. Because Lex Luger is certainly being positioned to be a heel here. He cheated at the Great American Bash and had interference from Harley Race and used a pile driver, which he wasn't supposed to do. And so they're trying to make Luger has been one of the top baby faces for the company. And he's a good looking guy, and he's got blonde hair, and he's jacked. So a lot of kids are going to pull for him. They're going to, I mean, this is almost their Hulk Hogan in terms of physiques. You know, he's got this great look. So I get why you have to just pile as much on as you can. They knew Harley is a bad guy. They can look at Mr. Hughes and recognize, okay, he's supposed to be a bad guy. He's wearing shades inside and he's got a scowl on his face, and he looks like a heavy from a movie. Like he looks like the bad guy, the villain in every 80s movie. So you need something to let everybody know, hey, he's the good guy.
Right.
And hey, this isn't popular, but the reality is this is an era where people are starting to, in America, have some race issues. We're not too far away from the LA riots here. I know they haven't happened yet, but things are bubbling, and you've got a white dude and a black dude. So you've got to have a reason in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or in a southern town to let everybody know, hey, the white guy's the bad guy. That's horrible to say, but that's real.
I get all that. The flip side of that is there were a lot of people back in that day, and you may have read it, and it may have been in Meltzer's dirt sheet, that felt that this was Ron Simmons' big chance to step up and have a world heavyweight title shot, and Dusty was taking the limelight away from him by just being there.
Well, I disagree. You know,
I don't agree with that, but that's some of the talk.
But in fairness though, and we listen, we've been super critical of Dusty before on this show because some of his ideas weren't home runs, but hell, nobody's batting 1,000. So,
exactly. Right.
You know, nobody's infallible. The reality is when he was booking, when it was at its height, you know, what WCW, the NWA, Crockett, whatever was at its height when he was booking. Eventually what goes up must come down. Yeah, it ran cold, but it did with every other booker too. But here to me, like, who else could you send out there with Ron? Because if you look back, you know, Dusty was really one of the first crossover stars where he was drawing big crowds in African-American communities too. Like
sure.
Part of his rap and his appeal was to not just be this, you know, I'm doing what everybody else does. He was trying to appeal to everybody. And he's fresh off of WWF TV, relatively, where he had a black female manager. So to me, this makes total sense to put him in this spot. And I know, listen, I'm going to get some tweets about me saying that, oh, you needed to let everybody in Chattanooga know that it's okay to cheer the black guy. But this is a weird time in America here. The Rodney King stuff happened in March of that year. And so people are, you know, not sure what's going on and how to feel, because Ron Simmons had just been a heel on TV and under a hood and cheating to win. And now we're going to cheer him against the guy who used to be Sting's tag team partner. I don't know about that. Okay. Let's put Dusty Rhodes with him, and let's put two heels with Lex and let everybody know where we are. In hindsight, maybe, you know, this is bad booking. Maybe Lex should have still been the baby face, and you should have still had Ron be the heel. Because we knew Doom as a bad tag team.
Right.
And we knew Lex Luger as Sting's buddy.
Right. Well, yeah, that's true, but people flip all the time.
Oh, no doubt. But I'm just saying, it's clear to me, business, we just ran through the numbers, and there's a lot of reasons why, but business is down with Luger as champ.
Yeah. Well, one thing I know, Dusty legitimately believed in Ron Simmons.
Oh,
Even
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we all did. Even before, Bill Watts came aboard and he became world champion, we all believed in Ron Simmons, that he had it. I mean, he had the look. My God, look how great he looked.
Well, his work is good. He's got a great look, and he's one of the boys.
Right.
The deal too is, if you have the respect of all the guys,
right,
that matters.
Yeah.
If you're going to be the champ and everybody's like, this mealy mouth prick.
Right.
But if you're the champ and you're like, oh no, he's the locker room leader, Ron would be that guy. Ron's not going to put up with a bunch of bullshit.
No. You're right. You're exactly right. One of the more straight shooting, likable guys that we've ever had.
So I'm sure there were some boo birds about Lex being the champ. I'm sure guys like Arn Anderson behind closed doors had funny things to say about Lex Luger being champ. I wasn't there, but I can imagine.
Right.
But when it comes to Ron Simmons, nobody's saying shit.
No, right.
Not because they're scared, just because they're like, oh, well, he's a legit badass and one of us and a hard worker. And I mean, he checks all the boxes for what you would want. And I think the thing that hurt Ron is that he didn't have a Dusty Rhodes with him all the time. I'm not saying Dusty, but just someone like him, because what Ron has in legitimacy and, just credibility, maybe he lacks a little bit from a promo standpoint. If he had a strong promo guy with him, imagine if Ron Simmons had Paul Heyman with him.
Right.
That's huge.
Or a Jim Cornette with him.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right on all counts. You really are. He was kind of like Rick Steiner was another one of those guys too.
I think, and somebody said this the other day on Twitter, and I don't think it gets talked about enough because of who his brother is, but Rick Steiner's got to be one of the more underrated performers. I mean, his brother did a Frankensteiner. That was such a revolutionary move that really nobody had seen, especially at that size. But if Scott Steiner didn't exist, what does the career of Rick Steiner look like?
I know.
And there's your first pinfall. Ron Simmons gets the first pin. I guess we should let everybody know it's 2 out of 3 falls. That first one only took 4 minutes and 52 seconds. Finished with a spine buster here.
Dusty doing a great job here. And again, we're trying to make it, we've legitimized Ron Simmons with all the videos. And now with Dusty Rhodes doing as only Dusty Rhodes can do, and we go over to Harley Race, and Harley doesn't really say anything. And I remember thinking, man, Dusty doing a great job of pumping him up, and Harley not hardly saying anything. But that was the difference in personalities there as well.
And two, I think that adds something, because if you are an old school NWA fan, and there's certainly a lot of those in Chattanooga, if you got Harley Race in one corner, former NWA world champion, it's kind of cool that you got former NWA world champion Dusty Rhodes in the other. And this corner thing here, very boxing like feel, similar to the way I said they sell boxing when we showed the training video of Ron Simmons. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I just wish that we had more Dusty with Ron during the run as the sort of protege mentor.
I agree. Looking back on it, you're exactly right. Without question.
There you go. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Oh,
by the way, Harley Race right here with the sport coat and the tie and the whole deal. Does he not look like everybody's grandfather?
Yes, he does. Oh God. How's he doing?
Not good.
Really? I knew he had kicked out one time, but
I don't know how good he is. I just know that, when I tried to book him for Starrcast, I was told he was not good.
Wow, that's a shame.
By the way, can I tell you too? I'm gonna need Terry Funk to live forever.
Yeah. Also, I think we should mention that we lost Dick Slater recently.
Oh man, I'm so glad you brought that up because there were so many people who were tagging me in pictures of you guys together.
Yeah.
Tell me some good Dick Slater stories.
Dick was a very odd guy. He didn't have really much of a personality. He seemed to be kind of laid back to me. He always seemed to me to be a guy that was, and I don't know what he did, but he always seemed to me to be a guy that was just kind of sit back and look like he was stoned all the time. Just that's how laid back he was, just really laid back and cool. And I know, at one time he was a pretty legitimate tough guy. But when I got to him, when I saw him, he really didn't come across that way to me. I remember one time, this is back when I was a fan, we were told that Dick Slater and Dusty Rhodes were coming to the Greensboro Coliseum as NWA World Tag Team Champs. And we were so excited, but we had seen Dusty, we had never seen Dick Slater. And of course, Dick Slater had been a star in Georgia. By the time that match came around, they had dropped the belts to the Anderson brothers. So we're disappointed in that. So Dick was okay, good guy, but didn't have much dealings with him. In other words, I wouldn't consider him a friend of mine like an Arn Anderson was, or Ric Flair, or Larry Zbyszko, guys I would have hung out with. But yeah, I was in a lot of things with him. One of the pictures I saw online was me in the back. Dick Slater was there. Bob Orton was there when Harley Race, if you'll recall, was facing Ric Flair in Starrcade 83 at Flair for the Gold, and I was in the back doing an interview with all of them. That was one of the pictures that circled around on social media recently. But I always hate to see somebody go that you work with because it makes you think of your own death and how time is ticking away and how we're losing people right and left.
Well, don't do that.
Well, we are. And then I saw Lex Luger in Waynesboro, Virginia, and he can stand up now, but he has to have a chair, and
is Lex Luger not the nicest human that ever lived, though?
Yeah, right now he is. Yes, he is.
Yeah, listen, we've talked about how he could be difficult back in the day, but just today, and if you have an opportunity to meet Lex Luger, if he's coming to a town near you, go do it. He is delightful.
Yes, he is. And just think about what he was. He and I talked for a little bit. We even did a video that we put on Patreon that Lex and I did, just a short video together. It's just blows me away what I'm looking at right now. This quote unquote Greek god.
Sure.
And then what we see now, and just tells you how things change. Life changes.
And he's over the top positive though. That's the thing. Like a guy like Lex Luger, who's been dealt the hand that he's been dealt, which is less than awesome, has every reason and right. And no one would be remotely upset if he was a world-class asshole. Like he's got every reason in the world to be angry and he's the total opposite. Just a fucking great guy, man.
Well, a lot of times, and I don't know this to be the case, a lot of times when you have that happen to you, you have a pretty good support group with you. And I would think and hope that what he went through, and he went through this at the Piedmont Shepherd Spine Center in Atlanta, great group of people there. And I know some of the people that work at the Shepherd Spine Center keep him positive. They work with so many athletes that have had bad things happen to them, have been put in wheelchairs, have been paraplegic, quadriplegics. And I want to credit them with helping form Lex Luger into the man he is now. Because you're right, he is a great man. He really is. And, even back then, Conrad, Luger had a lot of heat, as
Right.
you just mentioned.
Yeah.
He had a lot with the boys, but I never saw that side of him. I didn't. He and I were always on friendly terms. And sometimes I often wondered, and it's not to try to throw heat on any of my friends like Arn Anderson or Tully or any of those guys. I just wonder if there was a lot of animosity or jealousy because he couldn't work like they could work. He couldn't talk like they could talk, but he was making the money they were making. And so they approached him, I think, in an entirely different way. Does that make sense?
How do you mean?
Huh?
How do you mean they approached it an entirely different way?
Well, I know I was not jealous of Lex Luger. I was an announcer, and it was my job to put him over, and I thought he looked great. And yeah, I didn't think he was a great worker as Arn Anderson, but Arn Anderson probably would have said, you know what, that motherfucker is over, and he can't do any of the shit that I can do. And that's why it was different with me. That's why I probably got along with Lex Luger a lot better than the other guys did.
Well, I think that exists now. You know, there's so many guys who look at top guys and say, that should be me. They can't do this. They can't do that, blah, blah, blah. I mean, but there's more to just the in-ring part of the show.
Of course there is. Lex Luger's a living part of it. Hulk Hogan was.
Right.
But you know, it seems to me that, and this is only because of my dealings with wrestling today are MLW and the one show I went to, NWA 70. I may be wrong, but I don't think the animosity is backstage the way it used to be amongst the boys.
Yeah, I think everybody gets along a lot. It feels a lot less political now.
Yes, it does.
Than maybe, you know, I wasn't there, of course, but I read online and it reads a lot less political now.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is a lot less political. And I don't know what it's like backstage in the WWE. I've only been backstage once recently with them. So I don't know. But on the tours, the circuits that I've been on, it's much less. It's more guys trying to get ahead, trying to help each other get ahead. And they're more, you know, look, we were a team. We were all a team. We were in no ways different than an NFL team or a baseball team. We were all teammates, and the idea was we're all going to make money. We're all going to make money. We're all going to push each other. And a lot of times I didn't feel that, but now I do by being in MLW. I feel that everybody's a teammate and everybody's pushing each other, trying to make everybody better. I didn't always feel that back then. Maybe that was me. I don't know. But see Dusty getting everybody fired up on the backside there, and Harley kind of, again, it's just the difference in personalities of a Dusty Rhodes and a Harley Race. But
by the way, Meltzer says, I'm in the distinct minority here, but I give the show a thumbs down. 3 real good matches out of 11 and lots of matches that had no business being there doesn't make a great show to me. Even with 8 guys bleeding, 6 intentional, 2 hard way. It was probably better than it sounded on paper because the only match that could be considered a disappointment was Pillman Morton. I guess after hitting rock bottom with the Bash, this was a step forward. But watching the show, I felt like they were stepping forward, backward, sideways, up, down, and nowhere all at the same time. Definitely lots of steps, and you can see positive signs, but you don't see any progress at all. The announcing was real good. Dangerously Rude and Medusa as a trio have a tremendous heel presence. Finishing off the show with Luger Simmons did make painfully obvious that Luger doesn't have the charisma or ring presence to finish off a big show like a Flair or Hogan, let alone the ability of Flair, but it was good and a different main event which lived up to its height and exceeded expectation. That Ron Simmons video at Florida State is great, even at the 1,420th airing.
Well, you know, we got to throw him over the top, and we're even at 1 count each. 1 pin each, or 1 fall each. We left that night. Of course, I left that night thinking, wow, I want to hear we won the World Series, or I want to be able to hear part of the World Series.
Sure. But
we all left that night thinking that this final match was pretty good. We all were very happy with that. and we kind of distance ourselves from the silliness at the beginning. And I know we've been talking about that match should have been the last match, a Chamber of Horrors match, but for just a very good storyline here, because Dusty being involved and Harley being involved, and where it's, we all thought we left the arena, even though he wasn't a champion, Ron Simmons left being a star. I thought we elevated him that night. We all felt good about that.
I do want to mention the opening match, the craziness.
Yeah.
Meltzer would write, even though the match came off good live with three guys juicing, on TV, it was a nightmare. At the beginning of the match, an electric chair came down, and we were told the match ended when someone was placed in the chair and one of the teammates flipped the switch and zapped him with volts, which is all well and good, but had nothing to do whatsoever with the advertised stipulation, which were so confusing nobody remembered them to begin with. Between the electric chair, the referee cam, which only served to make viewers at home nauseous, and ghouls at ringside, and the two masked jobbers that came out of a coffin during the match to give Rick Steiner somebody to beat up on, this looked like the brainchild of a television executive on LSD with no knowledge of or respect for pro wrestling, trying to make fun of it. And aside from the LSD comment, that's pretty much what happened. Abby, Cactus, and Sting all juiced, with Cactus juicing heavy. The on-off lever on the electric chair kept falling into the on position, and they wasted a lot of quality talent with this one. Anyway, the finish saw Steiner pull a reversal on Abby, get him in the chair, and Cactus pulled the switch, and we had an explosion. Here's where it gets interesting. Abby was supposed to do a stretcher job to sell the explosion, but of course didn't, and instead beat up the ghouls after the match. Now, aren't you sorry that one man gang quit so he could be put in the chair, get amnesia, and come back as a babyface reverend? -2 stars.
You know what I think about what hit me and all of that was just Turner Broadcasting showing. And again, it goes same old, Shivani's going back to the same old storyline. Turner Broadcasting not knowing what the fuck they were doing, why they put Jim Herd in charge of it. And you're seeing exactly what happened. You really are.
I want to mention here in this issue of the Observer, Meltzer wrote, on this past weekend's WCW during the Austin Graham TV title match, JR made some comments regarding, quote, "You wouldn't believe the big guys that don't want any part of Mike Graham. You'd never believe the names he's backed down." I know what that's referencing. Do you want to tell everybody the story?
No, I don't remember the story.
Allegedly, there was a situation with, Mr. Sid Vicious and Mike Graham once.
Right. Exactly. And is that the one where Sid came back? They were in the bar and I don't know.
Either way, Mike Graham and Sid got into it, and Sid decided, maybe take a pass.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Mike backed down from nobody and was a damn good agent, and is another tragedy from the Graham family or the Gossett family, whatever. I like Mike Graham. And the reason he was a good agent is he took no bullshit.
Right.
I always thought that made a good agent. We're getting ready to see the finish here.
Yeah. We're not too far away here.
Right. The guy in the Jason mask. Watching wrestling in the Jason mask. Hey, this wasn't too far from you. You didn't go to this? You didn't have your parents bring you up at age 10?
Nope. My buddy though, did. Warren Davis went, and he said that, after the opening match happened, it was fucking over. It was time to leave.
Wow. I'm sure he wasn't the only one that felt that way.
Yeah. I mean, you could see when the first match happened, you couldn't spot any empty seats, but there are pockets of just empty seats now.
Look at Luger's right eye.
Oh. That's the finish. Pile driver, clean in the middle.
Right.
By the way, that world title that you see Harley Race handing Lex Luger, I think that's one of Cody Rhodes' favorite world title designs. He asked me the other day, he says, "Hey man, where'd that one wind up?" And it's with Dave Milliken.
Oh,
famous belt maker. He bought it from a person who bought it off of Ric Flair, I think in 2012, maybe 2011, something like that. 12.
I think I saw Milliken was Milliken was at NWA 70, wasn't he?
You know, I feel like he was. I don't know though. I was in Boston.
Right. I think I met him. You know how I am. Things go in one ear out the other sometimes. Look at that.
Well, he would have been the guy with a soul patch and 1,000 belts.
Okay.
So,
all right.
He's the ace of belts. And there you go. Nick Patrick counts to 3. And we're leaving with not sending the fans home happy at all. No, Abdullah didn't get electrocuted at the end of the show. Instead, the baby face leaves with his head down, losing clean in the middle, and the heel is victorious.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
Not the way you want to end a pay-per-view. And now we've got about 2 minutes to go on a pay-per-view. So we've gone short. So what do? We end up with two jackoffs here talking on camera. But again, even Meltzer said the commentary was good. I enjoyed working with Jim. I let Jim do his shit. I didn't care.
Yeah, he did a great job. I mean, this was a good show.
Oh yeah, he's God. You and I have talked about this so many times. We certainly make fun of Jim. He makes fun of us. But sure. Man, he was tremendous.
Man, he's a good guy. But this is a good show commentary wise. You know, some of the stuff didn't make any sense. There was a lot of talent on here that maybe they're trying to figure out, but I get it, man. The franchise just walked out. You're in a tough spot and you've got really two of I think you could make the argument, the two best play-by-play guys in the history of the business. In a couple of years, JR is going to be the voice of the WWF, certainly during the Monday Night Wars. He's the voice on one channel. You're the voice on the other. These are the two voices everybody grew up on. And you're just chilling here.
Yeah. And we did exactly what Dusty, what the Crockett's, what they all wanted us to do. And that was, we called it like a legitimate sports event.
And it made all the difference in the world.
It sure did. It really did. So there we go.
Tony, as we see the credits roll here, I can't help but feel like it's about that time.
Yes, it is. It's just about that time. And we are going to have somewhat of a 6 mixed tag match, as we are going to have the team of Sonny and Scarlett Bordeaux go up against Francine and Tony Schiavone. And in the ring now, Tony Schiavone and Francine are huddled up in the corner, and the referee has to go over in the corner and separate them. But he's pulling Schiavone away from Francine. I don't know what he was talking to, but he had his mouth in her ear. And now Schiavone turns around, he picks up Sonny, and Sonny comes running in at him, and he scoop slams her up, and he slams her down with a power slam. Oh my God! She pooted! We're desperately out of time. We will see you next week. The tape machines are rolling as we come to you with the one and only What Happened When on the MLW Radio Network, as well as on our good friends on
Patron.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Yo, what up? It's Turbo Ted. They call me that because, I'm Turbo and my name's Ted. If you're a fan of Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson and you hate waiting forever until Wednesday for that podcast to drop, not to fear, mi amigo, because Patreon is here. Head over to patreon.com/WHW Monday. They even got cool behind-the-scenes videos and new content every week. It's like they souped up bonus features on my DVDs and stuff, And buy LowesRules.com, because who doesn't love Mama Schiavone? She's one righteous lady. Anyways, her wicked website is one of the hottest sites on ProWrestlingTees.com. Then there's BoxingGimmicks.com. If you like to doot stuff from something to wrestle with, or, if Context is your king at 83 weeks. Or, dude, if What Happened When is just your jam, get to boxofgimmicks.com. They got pullovers, towels, koozies, tumblers, everything a dude needs, dude. Don't be a sellout promoter like Conrad. Promote from within, dude. Hey, did I tell you that Kellner's a Do This is coming back to Patreon? That's right, Slap Dictator's back, bro. Don't know when, but he's coming, dude. You don't want to miss it, bro. Oh, and dudes, Tony and Conrad going straight beast mode. They hit the road for not one, but two, count them, 2 live shows. They're coming to Charlotte, North Carolina. Yep, the Comedy Zone. When? Sunday, November 11th at 3 p.m. Get your tickets at tomsinc.com. They also are hitting up Nashville. The Nash, because it's just too sweet. It's Zany's Comedy Club on December 16th at 3 p.m. Get those tickets at lowkeybighog.com, dude. Word.